ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Today, live from the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, it's the Pepsi 400 Winston Cup race. As is the custom in Florida during July, it is hot and humid, 92 degrees. Light wind, partly cloudy skies right now, and as the case during most of July, there is a chance of showers, but later this afternoon. Right now, we have sunshine.
For the 33rd annual running of the Pepsi 400.
41 race car engines interrupt the serenity of Daytona Beach, Florida, as they get set for 160 laps of wheel-to-wheel competition in the Pepsi 400. And good morning, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Daytona. What began here in February reaches its halfway point today. This is event number 15 out of 29 in the 1991 Winston Cup season. Let's take a look at the point standings, the quest for the Cup. Dale Earnhardt has a rather commanding lead on second place Ricky Rudd. The advantage is 138 points. Darrell Waltrip with 2 wins is in third. Ernie Irvan, who won the Daytona 500 here in February, is fourth in the standings. And Ken Schrader, who has recorded 2 victories, is fifth. Taking a look at the second 5, the hottest driver on the Winston Cup circuit right now is in 6th position. That's Davey Allison. He has 3 wins. Harry Gant has had a great season, recording 1 victory. Mark Martin, who almost won the Winston Cup last year, continues to move up to 8th. Morgan Shepherd has been very consistent, and Michael Waltrip has no victories but has won 2 pole positions so far this year. Now, the 7/8-inch restrictor plate is on these cars today, but there's a new element that the drivers will have to contend with. And with more on that, let's go to pit road and Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Bob, a couple of weeks ago, NASCAR invited 5 teams of Talladega for a private closed test. Those 5 teams representing the 5 different makes of cars that compete here in this series. At that test, they had them try different kinds of spoilers to see what effect they would have on the stability and speed of the cars. That test cut short. They ran it here earlier in the week, and thus they have made 4 rule changes in effect for today's race. And they are, starting from the top of the car, the roof rails, the half-inch rails, have been extended down the back glass here all the way to the beginning of the trunk. Now, on the outside of the trunk, they have these 1-inch rails helping to channel air back toward the spoiler. Now, the spoiler is the same, except that minimum prior to this was 30 degrees, and now the minimum is 35 degrees. Now, they've always had on the right side of the car a 2-inch panel to help keep air from going beneath the car. Well, now they've added that same 2-inch panel here to the left side of the car. Now, what NASCAR hopes to be able to do is allow these cars to be so stable on the racetrack they can open up the holes in the restrictor plate, give the drivers more throttle response, and let them have better control of the race car on the super speedways. But, Benny Parsons, the jury is still out as to how these changes will have an effect during heavy race traffic today.
You wonder why NASCAR would make a rule change in the middle of the season, and particularly 4 or 5 days before an event? Remember the Pepsi 400 last year? The second lap, huge crash involving about 20 cars. The Winston 500 in May, another huge crash on the back straightaway, another 20 cars involved. We've somehow got to get these cars separated. The second thing, we're hurting drivers. Kyle Petty is home today watching this event with a broken leg, going through therapy 5 days a week, trying to come back, but it still may be a couple of months before he does. The third thing, the drivers just cannot pass with ease. They get alongside another car, they can't go by. We've got to get the cars to where the drivers, when they get a car set up to pass, they can go by and get on by that car. Ned, all the rule changes, does this favor one car or the other?
I think it's hard to tell, Benny. When you look at the cars on the track, there's a variety of where they position those rails down on the deck lids of the car. The Buicks have them real close together. The Chevrolets have them as far out as they can possibly get them, so it'll be interesting to see in the race. Now, talk about different brands of cars. We've had a real rivalry this year between Ford and Chevrolet. Now, Ford has won the speed battle most of the time. They have 8 poles to 2 for Chevrolet, but Chevrolet has come forth on race day. They have 8 wins to 3 for Ford. Well, Ford's up front again here, 5 in the top 10. For more on that, let's go to pit road and John Kernan.
Well, Ned, this is the 400th Bush Pole Trophy, and it belongs to Sterling Marlin. Let me tell you, it has been a long time coming for Sterling. 16 years, 204 races. This marks his first pole, and surprisingly, Sterling says he had very little to do with it. In fact, he credits the crew, led by crew chief Mike Beam, for finding that little extra burst of speed in qualifying that pushed him over the 190-mile-an-hour mark. Now, the ironic thing about this pole for Sterling, he holds the event qualifying record over 204 miles an hour set back in 1986, but that hot lap came in second day qualifying. So, Bob, as you can imagine, Sterling can't wait to get this race underway.
And they are coming down pit road right now so as to get an indication of how fast they can come down pit road during the race. Let's take a look now at the die-hard starting grid for today's Pepsi 400. Sterling Marlin is on the pole, qualifying at 190.331 in the Maxwell House Coffee Ford. Outside, another Ford. Davey Allison in Hueytown, Alabama, the Hamilton Ford, qualifying at 189.909. Second row is Harry Gant from Taylorsville, North Carolina, the Skull Bandit Oldsmobile, number 33. And then Jeff Bodine from Chemung, New York, and the Budweiser Ford, number 11. Row number 3, Bobby Hamilton from Nashville in the Country Time Oldsmobile, number 68. And Lake Speed from Jackson, Mississippi in the Trop Arctic Pontiac, car number 66. Starting 7th is Michael Waltrip in the Pennzoil Pontiac, car number 30. Then number 19, the Bullseye Barbecue Sauce Ford, driven by Chad Little. Starting 9th is Rick Mast in the Skoal Classic Oldsmobile, car number 1. And the Coors Light Ford is on the outside of that row. Number 9, Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia. Starting 11th is Ernie Urban, the winner of the Daytona 500 in the Kodak Vilma Chevrolet number 4. And then Dale Earnhardt, the defending champion of this event, in the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet, car number 3. Row number 7 for today's race, Ricky Rudd and Rick Wilson. The 8th row consists of Hut Strickland and Joe Ruttman, who had a great run here in the 500. Going to row number 9, Alan Kulwicki and Morgan Shepherd. The 10th row consists of Buddy Baker and Darrell Waltrip, who was injured prior to this race last year. The King Richard Petty begins from the inside of row number 11. Alongside will be Ken Schrader. The 12th row is Brett Bodine and Ted Musgrave. And as you look at the remainder of the starting lineup, you can see the cars coming off of corner number 4 and will once again go down pit road to get an indication of how fast they can go when we get under race conditions.
And Bob, when they came down pit road the other time, Lake Speed peeled off into his pits. It looked like they made a left side tire change on the Cale Yarborough entry. Apparently, while sitting on the grid, the tire went flat, so now he will have to start from the rear of the field from that good qualifying 6th place he had.
There you see the shot from the Airship Shamu high overhead of Daytona International Speedway as we get set for 160 laps of competition. The pole speed was 190.331 on this 2.5-mile tri-oval super speedway. The time 47.286 seconds. Will go 160 laps, and the field is separated by 6.9 miles an hour. There's Daytona International Speedway. The pits are located in the tri-oval. They have lots of pit room here. In fact, they have been lengthened for this event. Now, the banking down in turns number 1 and 2 is all the way up to 31 degrees. On the back stretch, the banking flattens out to 6 degrees. As they go down 3 and 4, it's again 31 degrees. And here in the tri-oval, it is 18 degrees of banking at Daytona International Speedway. Once again, from overhead, Airship Shamu. Let's go to John Curtin, who has a report on the 25 car.
Well, Bob, the race hasn't even gotten underway, and already a slight problem for Ken Schrader. He can hear his crew on the radio, but they cannot hear him. So they're going to have to use hand signals to communicate back and forth. When he comes through the trial past the pits, he will hit the door with his hand if the car is loose. Now, if it's tight, he will hit the roof with his hand as he comes by the pits. There's some hand signaling going on down here in the pit area and on the track.
That brings back the old days, doesn't it, Benny, before radios?
That's exactly the way they used to do it. You had to beat the door or the roof.
In-car cameras, the 66 Phillips 66 in-car camera. Now remember, Lake Speed, as Ned indicated, peeled off, and so he's at the back of the field, but he has some great pictures of the field ahead of him from that car. Also, the number 19 car of Chad Little will be carrying one of our in-car cameras, looking back there at Bill Elliott. And we also have an in-car camera in the number 12 car, which was, of course, being driven by Hut Strickland. Big crowd on hand, could be the largest in the history of the Pepsi 400, and we are underway. The green flag is out.
Doesn't look like it, but yes, the green flag is out. The car still side by side. Now Sterling Marlin has a little bit of an advantage over Davey Allison.
They come off the 31 degrees of banking and head down the backstretch. That's Marlin leading Davey Allison. Everybody looking for a spot to get in the drafting line that will form early. That's Dale Earnhardt on the bottom of the racetrack, moving up.
He doesn't need a drafting line, Bob. He just puts that thing as low to the track as he can get it down on the bottom and just motors right on by.
Now last year they had trouble at this point of the racetrack. Remember, they were 3 abreast last year. We see them back 2 abreast, but that shouldn't be any problem for these fellas.
Cut Strickland in the blue car pull out down on the inside of Ricky Rudd.
Rick Mast moved right ahead of him, so now we have a double file formation as they head for turn number 1, and that's from Hut Strickland's car as he goes in behind Darrell Waltrip and Ricky Rudd. There's Richard Petty up on the high side. On the low side is the 26 car of Brett Bodine. Stanley Smith back there. Here comes Jimmy Spencer moving up well on the low side of the racetrack.
Making it 3 abreast, and there's Greg Saxon, the white 47 on the outside as Richard goes into the turn single file. They were running side by side there as we saw when we came onto this picture, and as a result they had gotten behind the cars up in front of them, had lost the draft. You can see the distance there between them.
Here's the leader, Sterling Marlin, Davey Allison, and Jeff Bodine. 3 Fords up in the top 3 spots.
Then Harry Gant, Bobby Hamilton, and Dale Earnhardt, who is trying to take that position away from Bobby Hamilton on the low side of the track. He has Ernie Irvin with him on the bottom, and they go by not only Hamilton but also Harry Gant, who's caught on the high side.
Looks like Earnhardt hasn't lost a thing from last February, Ned. Car looks awfully strong this early.
Yes, it does. It handles so well down on the bottom of the racetrack. You remember in the Busch Clash, he started at the rear. When there's a lead change, Davey Allison trying to move around, Sterling Marlin and Jeff Bodine trying to go with him.
I don't know if Jeff is going to go with him. I think he wants to get on the inside.
They come out of turn number 4. Earnhardt drops in behind Jeff Bodine as Davey Allison will lead this lap. And Sterling Marlin drops all the way back to 5th position from the lead.
Boy, it doesn't take long once you get out of line. What I was saying about Dale Earnhardt in the Busch Clash, in about 2 laps, he came from the rear of, I think it was a 14-car field and went back to the front. And so here he is on the move again early in this race.
There's Marlin running on the top side of Chad Little.
Now Chad Little seems to be hung out to the dry with no one to draft with. Bobby Hamilton's coming up behind, but Chad just doesn't have the momentum.
That's Chad Little's in-car camera looking back on Michael Waltrip to your left and Bobby Hamilton on the right as they're side by side coming down through the tri-oval and completing lap number 4. Davey Allison still leads this event.
I realize that looks like 30 miles per hour, but folks, really and truly, it's about 195 to 200 miles per hour.
Battle for 3rd position there as Ernie Irvin got 3rd, and here comes Sterling Marlin for 4th as Jeff Bodine got up high on the racetrack and out of the drafting line. So the early stages of the Pepsi 400 is underway here at Daytona International Speedway. We're glad you could join us as we have brunch today at the World Center of Racing. Our Speed World coverage of the Pepsi 400 is being brought to you by Pepsi, the choice of a new generation. By Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? We're live for the Pepsi 400 from Daytona. Davey Allison leads Dale Earnhardt. We'll be back in just a moment.
Is that rubbing on the bottom down there? It looks like he's going somewhere.
Well, today ESPN is presenting the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. The driver leading at the halfway lap will win a $10,000 reward from Right Guard Sport Stick Anti-Perspirant, and you will have a chance to win a Pontiac Grand Prix SE. To enter, call 1-900-737-1100 before the halfway lap. If your entry is selected and you are called at home, you must name the driver who won the Right Guard Halfway Challenge Award to win the Pontiac Grand Prix SE. Early stages of this event here. The cars head through turns 3 and 4 once again. It is Davey Allison setting the pace over Dale Earnhardt, who has moved up from his 12th starting position to run second.
Still a lot of side-by-side racing going on. There's Harry Gant, Bill Elliott side-by-side. Joe Ruttman also making pretty good moves, Benny.
And Dale Earnhardt goes inside of Davey Allison and is going to get the lead away from Davey. And Ernie Irvan joins with him on the low side of the racetrack. So now Dale Earnhardt has the lead as the cars head down the backstretch once again. Dr. Punch.
Richard Childress just told me a minute ago they've done something here for this race they have never done before with the Dale Earnhardt car. They have put a spoiler on the car that's probably taller than anybody else in the field. They have 45 degrees of rear spoiler on the car. The reason, well, they felt that because this race started an hour later and the high temperatures here today, this track's going to get very, very slick. And a lot of the guys here in the race are running 38, 39 degree spoilers. They figure their car will be so stable throughout the early part of the race, they'll sniff the draft and go to the front. Hey, and I believe he predicted it pretty much right on the money.
I believe he did. Earnhardt has made great strides here. There were no Chevys that were in the top 10 of qualifying, but right now we have Chevrolet running first and second. And guys, that's one thing that we should mention. There was a minimum of 35 degrees of spoiler, but they can bump that thing up to however high they want it.
Exactly. 35 degrees is the least amount that they can run. And I talked to a lot of drivers that wished NASCAR would went ahead and said they've got to be 40 or 45 degrees. But the car's obviously going to run a little bit slower with 45 degrees. But they have to handle it. They got to go through the corners, and Earnhardt right now is doing that better than anyone.
5 degrees is about, in qualifying, about 5 miles an hour.
That's unbelievable. Just that blade across the rear going up and down 5 degrees could make that much difference in speed.
Great shot from Airship Shamu, being piloted today by Alan Judd of Australia and Steve Adams of Trotwood, Ohio. The cameraman is George Shafsma. Some great pictures from high overhead of Daytona International Speedway.
Well, that is a great shot there, looking down on the front runners. And here's Terry Labonte having trouble. He had to take a provisional to get in this race. He just simply couldn't get the car up to speed. Now out of the race, it looks like.
Sunoco Oldsmobile heads behind the wall as Terry Labonte will be the first out. Look at the drafting train. Only just a couple of cars on the low side and caught outside of it, as everybody, for the most part, is right behind the one ahead of it. Earnhardt leads. Ernie Irvan takes a look to the inside as Sterling Marlin, the pole sitter, will go behind Irvan, and they will take the lead from Dale Earnhardt.
Sterling had visions of going and taking the lead from Ernie Irvan, but he's not able to do that because Ernie moved down next to the grass. Really didn't give Sterling much room.
And look where Earnhardt went from first to fifth. Maybe even Davey Allison might go by him as well as he drifts up a little high again coming off of turn 4. Boy, you get out of line and 3 or 4 of them team up together, they'll just drive right on by into the grass.
Last time they crossed the line here, Earnhardt was in the lead. He's now in 5th position, and Davey Allison is right beside him in a battle for that spot. Joe Ruttman right behind them, as is Bill Elliott.
Now, Earnhardt's not staying as low on the track as he was.
There's the 19th shot from the car of Chad Little. You can see up there on the right is Dale Earnhardt. The high side of the track.
And Davey Allison right now is going backwards because he just simply doesn't have anyone to run with. 2 cars hooked up nose to tail as the 75 and 9, Joe Ruttman and Bill Elliott. They can run much faster than a single car by itself.
Earnhardt goes from 1st to 5th. Jerry, any idea what happened?
Well, Bob, yes, last time by, Dale Earnhardt ready then and told Richard Childress, said, hey, the car just jumped out from underneath me over there in turn 3 and almost got sideways. Says, when we come in, I need a little more blade, meaning he wants even more rear spoiler to keep the car tight.
So we'll watch for that on the first series of pit stops as Earnhardt is now falling off the pace. 4 cars have jumped out to themselves as Earnhardt and Davey Allison are there, bringing up the second group of cars.
Spin coming off turn 2.
Several cars involved in a spin off of turn number 2. And a car continuing on down the backstretch, just about in the middle. Stanley Smith is one of those involved.
Stanley Smith almost made it through, got on the grass, and just simply couldn't keep control into the outside retaining wall.
So our first caution of the race comes out on lap number 18. Lake Speed, obviously involved in the crash. You can see Lake moving around. He's okay, but I'm sure very disappointed that his race may be over.
You know, that flat tire, he was up near the front, but when he had the flat tire on the pace lap, had to come in and change that. He was back there in the pack, and there was a lot of jockeying around going on back there, and he was a victim of it.
Safety officials arrive to talk with Lake, see if he is okay. The Trop Arctic Pontiac sitting in the grass on the backstretch. So a multi-car tangle here has brought things at least to reduce speed, and we will be cautioned here for a few laps while the cleanup goes on at Daytona.
I saw it unfolding, Neil, but I couldn't get to the talk back in time to let you know.
Who started it, do you know?
There's Richard and two. They all of a sudden somebody drove up on the outside. Somebody drove up on the outside, made 3 abreast coming off the second corner. Somebody just went up on the outside and they didn't know he's there, and the 3 of them just made contact.
Was Dale involved?
I think he was involved in it, but it happened in front of him.
Oh, okay.
Richard Petty was one of the 3 cars. I don't know who the other 2 was. Richard was on the inside, and then let's see if Earnhardt's going to come in the pits.
He's down on the low side.
He wants to.
Yeah.
He's going to. Man, oh
No,
man.
he didn't either. The old fake job.
He wanted those other guys to think he was coming in.
No, Ned, he wanted to come in.
Yeah.
Richard wouldn't let him come in. He desperately wanted to come in if he's loose.
Okay. Still cleaning up the debris caused by our first crash of the morning here at Daytona. It happened coming out of turn number 2. Several cars involved. Some are sitting in the grass, and some are sitting on the racetrack, and others are in for some service. And here is Dale Jarrett. Let's go to John Kernan.
Dale Jarrett has pulled into the pits. They've changed the right side tires already. They are looking on the right side. They had thought that quite possibly he had broken the pan arm bar. They're checking the rear end right now. Now, before the caution came out, Dale was thinking about pitting because he thought that he had a right rear tire going down. Takes right sides only, and he has gone and away. Just a lot of grass underneath the car. It doesn't look serious from this side.
Looks like there's a little bit of damage on the right rear of the car, but Dale will go back on competition, and Mickey Gibbs is getting a windshield change on that car.
A lot of times when the cars spin around, the pressure from the inside will pop a windshield out, and apparently that's what happened.
See if we can determine what happened.
Well, I was looking over in turn 2, and I saw 3 cars get a 3 abreast
Chevy.
coming off the
Chevy, this is
second
John.
corner, and all of a sudden they just lost control. I think they made some contact coming off the corner, and those 2 cars started spinning, and really and truly left no place to go for the cars behind them. There we see cars going through, luckily getting through. There's Brett Boat. That was Stanley Smith that went through, lost control, hit the wall.
Jimmy Spencer went by up on the outside. That's Greg Saxon, the white 47 on the right of your screen.
And now from Lake Speed's car.
Oh! Is that Ted Musgrave in the 55 car?
Yep, they touched. As looked like Lake tried to go up on the outside of Musgrave, and Musgrave perhaps didn't know he was there.
Exactly. Musgrave, with the way he came off the corner, did not have any idea that Lake was up there.
Lake Speed's car is on the hook. He remains in the car. There's Stanley Smith's Interstate Batteries machine. It's on the end of the hook, and there is Greg Sachs. Dr. Punch once again in Dale Earnhardt's pit.
Bob, Dale Earnhardt, of course, the defending champion of the Pepsi 400, and he struggled a little bit early on, RC. Now, a lot of discussion during this caution flag as to whether you would pit or not. Dale started to make a move back down pit road and then pulled back on the racetrack. What was the discussion?
Well, the car's real loose right now, and was going to add a little more spoiler to it, but we hate to get, lose that much track position. If we can hang on and try to pit with the leaders, is what we want to try to do.
Now, when you're a successful car owner, you get to make those delicate adjustments on the car. Let's show us what you'd make that adjustment with. This delicate little rubber sledgehammer here. Yes. And if Earnhardt were to come down pit road, how much would you give him?
Probably try to put about 5 degrees on us. About what we want. We want to go about 3 on the ends and 5 in the center or something like that. We just work the spoiler up a little.
So Dale Earnhardt wrestling with a loose race car here early on. Gentlemen.
Hut Strickland is in the pit area.
Yeah, they're doing some work on the right front of his Buick. Hut was certainly considered to be one of those that would have a good chance of winning this race today, especially with the performance in the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, and then a couple of weeks ago at Michigan when he had his best finish ever in second. But the Ray Vestas Buick team have sent him back out now. If we look out the windshield of him, now we're looking down on him as he goes out on pit road. But they were working on the right front of the car.
They've taped the right front together. That red stuff, I think, is all tape they put together on that.
5 cars involved in a crash on the backstretch, and the cleanup continues here at Daytona. We're live for the Pepsi 400, and we'll be right back.
We need to give a call to Buddy Baker when we come back. He's up to 10th already.
Yes. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. Back at Daytona International Speedway in the Pepsi 400, which is under caution because of a 5-car crash. Well, needless to say, we're glad to have Benny Parsons back at work after suffering the loss of his wife nearly 3 years ago. We'd like to express some personal thoughts to you. Benny?
On June 16th, Kevin, Keith, my 2 sons, and myself suffered a loss that was almost unbearable. But the family came forth and they helped us through it. Now, I always consider the family the people on pit road, the drivers and the mechanics, the people involved in racing. But in the last couple of weeks, I found out the family is a lot larger than that. They're up in the grandstands, and they're at home watching this on TV. And the family has been unbelievable. I have received a stack of cards 5 feet high. Now, if you sent a card, I read it. I read every one of them, and I got so much comfort in reading them. For the 2 sons and myself, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
Well, it was just, there's part of the big crowd that he's talking about, and it was just 3 weeks ago that Connie lost her life, and Jerry Punch, Dale Earnhardt decided to come in.
Well, I guess the car was just too much to bear out there. The car was going to get very, very loose, and they have changed the right side tires, and now we'll come around and change left side tires. Kurt Shelburne taking the left front and left side tires. And, of course, Richard Childress now using that rubberized sledgehammer we showed a minute ago to try to give him about 4 or 5 degrees extra spoiler. Earnhardt's car is down and away.
Well, there you see Morgan Shepherd going out of the pits as well. So a number of drivers making pit stop. Dave Marcus is in the blue car you see on your screen. Morgan Shepherd beating Dale Earnhardt out of the pits. So adjustments being made on several cars. Brett Bodine is in the pits as well. He was almost in that wreck over on the backstretch, but I think he got through it okay. It would be interesting to see Earnhardt try to come back up through the field from the back of the pack. And we'll be back with all of that action after we take a break for these messages.
Not yet.
Try that.
Cars have taken the green flag and completing their first lap under green. Ernie Irvin leads them down with Sterling Marlin running second. Jeff Bodine, Rick Mast, Davey Allison, and Joe Ruttman are trailing as we are back to green after our caution. Now, there were 5 cars involved in that crash on the backstretch, including Wally Dallenbach Jr., also the number 49 car of Stanley Smith, Lake Speed, Ted Musgrave, and Greg Sachs.
We saw the 12 car in the pits just a moment ago working on the right front. John Kernan has checked with them. John, what was their problem?
Benny, they weren't involved in that crash, but they did get into somebody. They did a little bit of damage on the right front of the nose of the car. They had to pull it away and pull it up. I talked to Jimmy Finnick, the crew chief. He says he doesn't think that will hamper their efforts, and they are looking for a really good run today. They expect to be one of the stronger cars in the field.
I'll tell you what, Hut Strickland had one of the finest drives of his career here at Daytona in February and was involved in a late race incident, but that car ran so well, and he has great hopes of having a good finish, if not a win, here this afternoon.
Well, he's following on the back bumper of Jimmy Spencer there right now, and they've lost the draft in front of them. Jeff Bodine has lost the draft up in front of him there too.
Losing the draft, yes. Jeff Bodine is caught on the bottom of the racetrack, and cars are going by him on the outside, including Bill Elliott there, number 9, and Ken Schrader in 25.
You know, you can build up some momentum behind the car, and you just want to jump there and say, I can outrun him, as we see Joe Ruttman in the yellow and red car, and Jeff Bodine down there now out by himself again. It feels like you can go by, but you get down there and it just don't work, and then the train goes by on the outside.
Ned, that's exactly why my hat's off to NASCAR to make these rule changes and try to get the carburetor open back up a little bit to give these fellas some opportunity to pass these guys. You're right. You drive up behind the car and you say, well, I can just go right by him, but you can't go by him. You get hung up just like Jeff Bodine is, and pretty soon you make contact like they did a moment ago coming off 2, and you've got a crash.
Now, there's mixed opinion on whether the aerodynamic rules that are in place for this race are exactly what the driver wants, but there is unanimous opinion that everybody wants some more horsepower and the ability to stand on the throttle and get away from cars if they have to.
This is the lead pack here now, fellas, who are watching, as Kenny Schrader tries to move on the inside of Bill Elliott. Dale Earnhardt, remember, made a pit stop a little while back during that caution. Well, you see there, he now comes into the picture. He's pretty far back. Morgan Shepherd in the that's Buddy Baker in the car number 20, and then Earnhardt and Dale Jarrett. All of them made pit stops. Baker had worked his way up to 10th place, fellas, from about 18th or 19th where he started, and 19th is where he started. So he was doing a good job, but made a pit stop during the caution.
Dale is running in 33rd position, and he has a lot of cars between him and the leader. And the 26 car of Brett Bodine is in the pits. Jerry? Well, it's John Kernan that can report on the Brett Bodine problem, John.
Hey, everybody says Jerry and I look and sound alike anyway, so the mistake, I'll forgive you for that. But Brett Bodine is on pit road. They're thinking that it might be a transmission problem. They've had the hood up. They've looked underneath the hood. They've looked underneath the car. Now they are putting the hood back down and pushing it backwards, so it looks like Brett is headed back to the garage.
He was one of those that was the guinea pig, so to speak, on these new aerodynamic changes. Brett took his Quaker State Buick to Talladega a week ago to test the aerodynamics. So he was the Buick representative. And speaking of Buick, another one, Rick Wilson, a local favorite, living not too far away from here, is in for a pit stop. Looks like they're changing all 4 tires on the Snickers Buick.
Definitely an unscheduled stop. Rick had a good qualifying run here too. Started in the 14th position, but he will go a lap down. You see him about to make a chassis adjustment, but they said, hey, we got these tires changed, let's go. And let's go to the pits and Jerry Punch.
Well, it's one of the things you absolutely must do on a super speedway, Ned. If you get a vibration in the car, you cannot take a chance and it'll go away. So that's what Rick Wilson unfortunately had to do. And the Snickers Buick crew came in, changed all 4 tires, and of course, it'll cost him a lap here under green.
A lot of changes for that 8 car since the last race in Michigan. Kenny Wilson has taken over as crew chief, team manager from Harry Hyde, and brought in a lot of his people. A lot of Harry's people is not with the team anymore, so some wholesale changes.
And Pete Wright from the Junior Johnson team came over there with him, one of the key employees now of the Scavola Brothers Snickers Buick team.
And of course, Buick also making some news here at Daytona this week, as they have apparently thinking about dropping out of Winston Cup Racing. Buick is next year. Ken Schrader moving to the inside of Joe Ruttman. He'll take over that position. Ruttman in the 75 and Schrader in the 25 car. Once again, the view from overhead as the cars move into the 31 degrees of banking.
There's Derek Cope on the outside. That red and white car on the outside is Derek Cope, the Pure Later Chevrolet.
And Benny, he started in 36th position, and there he is up there among the front draft.
And is currently in 7th position, so a great move by Derek Cope. John Kernan, he has had one of the best performances here in the first 25 laps.
Well, he sure has, Bob, and they have put a lot of hard work in on that car. It's the same car that was, if you'll excuse the expression, injured in that big wreck at Talladega. They took it back to the shop. They rebuilt it, brought it here, and early in the week, they couldn't get it to run up the speed. So Buddy Parrott and the guys have gone to work, and it looks like they have hit upon some kind of combination because he is moving toward the front.
Derek Cope, of course, was the winner of the Daytona 500 a year ago, so he knows this racetrack. And Ken Schrader continues to pick off positions as he has moved all the way to 2nd spot, running behind Irvin.
Well, there we see the Chevrolets. We talked at the top of the show about the Fords being the fastest in qualifying, but when the race starts, the Chevrolets just come to the front. So you got a Chevrolet of Ernie Irvin up front, and Chevrolet Schrader now running in 2nd place.
And Schrader has made those passes look easy, Ned, awfully easy. So Schrader, his car at this point of the race, is looking awfully.
He has some horsepower under the hood.
The pole sitter, Sterling Marlin, is running in 3rd spot.
And that's Joe Ruttman. And then Bill Elliott. You know, Elliott hasn't had too much to crow about this year, but today he's got a pretty good run going. The car up in 5th spot.
Now, fellas, I had my stopwatch this last lap on Ernie Irvin, and he was running about 48 and 4/10 seconds. Dale Earnhardt, Buddy Baker, and Dale Jarrett back there are running in the 47 seconds, like about 47.90.
Sterling Marlin going backwards. 3 cars gone by him. Ruttman
And unfortunately,
Bill Elliott.
Barry Cope is stuck behind Marlin. The 10 car of Cope was moving up so quickly, but then got behind Sterling Marlin and lost a couple of positions. Here comes Bill Elliott on the low side of the racetrack, and Bodine will come with him as they take the position away from Joe Ruttman.
It's almost like Sterling Marlin has a problem. As rapidly as he's backed up.
Derek Cope there on the left side of your screen. I'm telling you, that car is running well.
Yes, it is. I believe Sterling got in that traffic there a moment ago, and I believe the car got loose on him.
Okay. Yeah, he looks like he's back up to speed now.
Yeah.
Ernie Irvin continues to lead this race. As Ken Schrader runs in 2nd position, we've completed 28 out of 160 laps in the Pepsi 400. Glad you could join us on this Sunday morning. We'll be right back.
I just said Sunday morning, so there's your chance.
Oh. Did you really?
Yes. Oh, okay.
No. Oh, he's trying to make a breakaway. Yeah, it looks like that. Elliott, I don't know. Maybe. Am I doing interview?
Yeah.
Earnhardt's about to run that group down.
Yep. Yeah, he's been running about 0.4 of a second faster.
Around the world, ESPN brings you over 1 million miles of award-winning coverage. Speed World today is live at Daytona International Speedway for the Pepsi 400, and we are 31 laps into this race on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, why did you say Sunday morning?
I don't know, but
You know, it's a good thing I'm back, James. Somebody's got to keep control of you. There's no doubt
good to
about it.
have you back. Ernie Irvin runs first and Ken Schrader second, then a little bit of separation back to the third place car.
And Bob, look here at this 98 car of Jimmy Spencer. He made a pit stop during this last caution flag, changed tires, and he is all the way up now to about 7th place, I believe, after he made that pass, going by on the outside, past Alan Kowicki up there in the 7 car. And we got Joe Ruttman down on the inside. He is really on the move. He and Derek Cook both moving towards the front.
You said the key word, on the outside. He is passing these cars on the outside. He's up there where no one is trying to race but Jimmy Spencer, and going by him looks like leads.
That's Chad Little on the bottom of the racetrack as Ricky Rudd and others move by him. Now we're inside of Little's car, down the backstretch.
There's a 98 car pulled up behind Derek Cope and our pole sitter Sterling Marlin,
making a run on him too.
Now Spencer's car not only works well on the outside, look at him go on the inside.
This is unbelievable. He is on the inside just like he was running well on the outside and makes a pass coming off turn 4.
Cope's car got a little bit loose coming off of turn 4. Here's a pass for the lead.
That puts Spencer in 6th, and it puts Ken Schrader in the lead as he dives to the inside of Ernie Irvin going into turn number 1 and takes the advantage. John Kernan is down in Schrader's pit.
Bob, I'm standing by with Richard Broom, the crew chief. Richard, you just gone into the lead, come from back in the pack. Anything different on the car?
No, John, just basically the same thing we've been running here for 3 years. And I reckon I hit the combination. In other words, I knew the car was going to take a lot of spoiler, and we put it on there. We put 45 degrees on it, and the car is working great and handling good. So maybe we might pull something off here. Don't have no radio communications, but we're going to have a hand signal deal.
Yeah, I understand that you maybe cut his mic off so he wouldn't complain during the race to you.
Yeah, I like it this way.
Let's go down pit road to Dr. Jerry Punch, who's in Sterling Marlin's pit.
Well, a little bit ago, Sterling Marlin was running second, and suddenly the car slowed over in turn 3, and he was passed by 3 or 4 cars, and now he's running back in 5th spot. Let's find out from Mike Beam what may have been the problem. Now, Mike, minutes ago, your car began to slow over in the backstretch and lost a couple of spots. What happened?
Sterling said whenever Schrader come up behind him, the car he got real tight. And he just said it's just pushing. So, you know, we just going to wait until the first stop and try to adjust it out. But I think it's air. You know, I don't know what we can do about that. We'll just kind of work on the car a little bit and see if we can get it out of it.
So Sterling complaining of a handling problem here early on. They'll try to get the car adjusted at the next pit stop. Bob?
He's running in 5th position, and right behind him is Jimmy Spencer in the Banquet Chevrolet, and that car is fast.
It sure is wild. Jerry Punch was talking to Mike Beam. As that car went through turns 1 and 2 the last time, Sterling Marlin looked like he almost had to get out of the throttle because the car just all of a sudden seemed like it slowed. At that time, the car seemed to be okay as he went through the corner, but he didn't have that car right up behind him, and it makes such a huge difference when these cars run up behind the cars in front of him.
So that battle settles down for the moment, as up front we have 4 cars that are running together. That's Ken Schrader, the leader, Ernie Irvan running in 2nd position, Bill Elliott is 3rd, and then Jeff Bodine.
We saw Ken Schrader just a few laps ago past Ernie Irvan for the lead. Why he was content to follow Ernie Irvan earlier was because the cars of Bill Elliott and Jeff Bodine was not catching him. So as long as they were not catching, he was going to run 2nd. But all of a sudden, Bill Elliott started creeping up. He said, look, I got a car to lead this race. Why should I sit back here and let Elliott and Bodine go? I'm going to take my chance on leading this race.
And then he's running about 2/10 of a second faster with him in front than he was with Ernie Irvan in front.
Ken Schrader's best finish in a Pepsi 400 was 3rd a year ago. And we go down to John Kernan with another comment from Schrader's pit.
Well, you talked about Schrader and Ernie Irvan running together, and Schrader in front runs a little bit quicker. Now, what they have decided to do, of course, we always say here with these restrictor plate tracks, under pitting conditions, you got to have a dance partner. So those 2 teams are going to hook up together. They will pit together and draft together. And now it looks like Ernie wants to go back out in front.
Yeah, it does. Irvan goes to the inside in the tri-oval, headed for turn number 1, and in the same position of the racetrack in which Schrader got the lead, Irvan takes it back.
That was not I think that the strategy that John Kernan talked about was the best strategy. I'm not sure this is the best, because we can see now just how close Elliott and Jeff Bodine have pulled up on the rear bumper. It looked like with Schrader in front, they was able to pull away a car like this.
Classic battle between Chevrolet and Ford, as 2 Chevrolets are out front and 2 Fords are in 3rd and 4th.
See if Elliott and Bodine can't pull up on the back bumper.
38 laps are completed. Winston Cup racing on this Saturday morning from Daytona International Speedway. It's a Pepsi 400. We'll be right back.
Alan Kowicki's fought through the traffic too.
Well, I haven't mentioned him, but he's doing okay. Okay.
But Strickland now's got back up to 12th.
Bill Elliott's car just went away down that corner, just like Sterling's did a while ago. I don't know what's going on down there, but the cars are just going away. Jerry or John, you might check with Bill Elliott's crew and see what happened to his car down in 1 and 2, because the same thing happened to Sterling's car a moment ago.
Back at Daytona, and once again, here's how to enter the Right Guard Halfway Challenge Sweepstakes. Call 1-900-737-1100 before the halfway lap, then stay tuned to see which driver wins the $10,000 reward. If your entry is selected, and you are called at home, and you will win a Pontiac Grand Prix SE if you can name the driver who won the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. 160 laps are the total of the race, so 80 laps will mark the halfway point.
There's Larry Pearson in the 41 car, Kellogg's Cornflakes, Bobby Hillen, Mellow Yellow, and the Skull Bandit of Harry Gant. Good race coming off turn 4. Harry probably wants to know which one of these guys do I need to follow.
Now the qualifying speed guy is a pole sitter, qualified at 190 miles an hour by himself. But when they hook up in a draft like they are during the race here, they can actually go faster than that.
2 cars hooked up together can run much faster than the car can around the racetrack. The last lap by the leader, 185.2. So that's not true today on this hot day and as slick as the racetrack is getting here 100 miles into the race. If they were to stop now and put on 4 fresh tires, that speed would probably pick up to somewhere near qualifying speed.
Exactly. When I mentioned a moment ago that Dale Earnhardt was running about 0.4 of a second faster than the leaders, that has changed now. Once he got his tires heated up, he's running a little bit faster than the leaders, but not nearly as much.
Watching this battle here for 17th and 18th position. That's Larry Pearson in the yellow car leading the group. There's Dale Earnhardt, who moves down to the inside of Harry Gant and Bobby Hillin to make it 3 wide, and he just blows by Harry Gant.
There's Darrell Waltrip in the Western Auto Chevrolet. Darrell's been sort of backing up. Apparently his car is very loose as well.
Remember, Earnhardt made a pit stop and fell all the way back to the rear of the field, but now is beginning to move up. Up front, meanwhile, Jeff Bodine has moved in on Ken Schrader. Now, Bodine was running 4th a few laps ago. He moved up to 3rd position, passing Bill Elliott, and now he is closing in on 2nd place as we work our way toward the front of the field. There's first. That's Jimmy Spencer there in our top right as they hooked up together, and we continue to pan the camera in the airship Shamu around the 31 degrees of banking. There is Bill Elliott running by himself in 4th position, and now just exiting turn number 2 and going down the backstretch, the first 3 cars, and there they are, Irvin, Schrader, and Bodine.
If you wonder what happened to Bill Elliott just about 2 or 3 laps ago in turns 1 and 2, exactly like Sterling Marlin, he went in a corner and the car went just out of control. Jeff Bodine went by him. I wonder what might have happened to Bill Elliott. John Kernan is checked. What was the problem, John?
Benny, I talked with Ernie Elliott, Bill's brother and crew chief. He says that the car is both loose and tight, depending upon where Bill is and where the car behind him is. Now, the Ford of Jeff Bodine, when he got up behind him, apparently took a little wind off the spoiler. Bill got really loose, but he gets in front of him, and the car is tight and wants to push. So how do you figure out that kind of problem?
Yeah, that is a dilemma when you got both problems in the same racetrack at the same time.
Well, I think these strips that they put on the deck lids and down the glass of the cars has the people confused. They don't have a lot of experience with them, and boy, you should have seen on Thursday and Friday as they were changing those strips back there, trying to figure out how it's going to make the car work the best, and knowing when they got in a draft and around other cars that it was still going to be different from when they were out there running by themselves. And I think that might be part of the problem, is that just simply don't have those things positioned right because they didn't know where to position them.
What happens, I think the Bill Elliott's car probably is tight. Running by itself, the car is tight. But when another car drives up behind it and takes the air off that rear spoiler, then is when the car gets loose. It's an aerodynamic problem that I don't know anything they can do about it except put more rear spoiler on the car, which will slow the car down.
Well, they're going to have to make pit stops here before long. We've run over 100 miles. Those drivers that have not made pit stops, in fact, have run about 115 miles now. So another 5 or so laps, I would think they would be coming into the pits. Now, some of those drivers, like Dale Earnhardt and Jimmy Spencer, who is running in the 5th position now, he's going to be in great shape because those 4 cars in front of him have pit stops coming up here before long.
And so before we get to the pit stops, let's take another break in our coverage of the Pepsi 400 live from Daytona International Speedway here on ESPN Speed World. Yep. Yeah,
Neil?
John already mentioned it, so we'll just...
Neil? Davey Allison was a big part of our tease, and he is awful. We ought to try to find out what the...
Okay, hey, guys, listen. Richard Broom told me they can go 64 laps under green, but Ernie can only do 54, so they're going to pit together on lap 53. Instead of keeping Kenny out there by himself, they know how important it is to have a draft partner. So I thought that was fairly interesting. He's going to come in 11 laps early.
Yeah. It's also interesting that he can go 64 laps.
Well, Harry Gant at Talladega ran 57 laps. Twice.
Okay. Well, joining us today on ESPN Speed World, our coverage of the Pepsi 400 for the second year. Airship Shamu, SeaWorld's Goodwill ambassador. Shamu is 194 feet long and nearly 7 stories tall. And those are the pictures that we are getting from Airship Shamu down on the racetrack. And there are the first 3, Irvin, Schrader, and Jeff Bodine. And we are now about maybe 5 or 6 laps from seeing the 2 cars out front, Schrader and Irvin, come in for a pit stop. And remember, John Kernan has already told us that these cars have decided to hook up together. They will pit together, and so they'll be able to work with each other when they come out of the pits.
Yeah, John Kernan was telling us on break that the 25 car, they figure they can run 64 laps without a fuel stop. But Ernie can only go 54 laps. So Schrader's going to forgive that last 10 laps and stop with Ernie Irvin so they can at least draft together.
You know, we talked in the opening of the program about how hot Davey Allison was, having won 3 of the last 5 races. Well, things aren't going very well for Davey today. He's mired back in 28th position at the moment.
And he's not going forwards. I talked to Davey yesterday down in the garage area, and he said, well, we've really got a problem. We've been running good. We win a race, we run bad. We win a race, we run bad. We've got to get consistent. And he won a race in Michigan. He's running bad again.
Well, our pole sitter, Sterling Marlin, is in the pits. I expect they'll change all 4 tires. You can see one of the crew members, Mike Bing, or somebody back there making a chassis adjustment on the car.
And just ahead of Sterling Marlin, the 19 car, Chad Little, is also pitted. Marlin has his work completed and begins to move away, and now Chad Little moves his bullseye barbecue sauce machine out of the pit area, as we see from his bumper can.
I believe they only changed the right side tires on Sterling Marlin. I thought they would change all 4, but they only changed right sides.
And Sterling does go a lap down. He's still trying to get up speed. Exiting the pits. There goes Ernie Irvin, Kenny Schrader, and Jeff Bodine, the leaders, the first 3 cars in the Pepsi 400.
Joe Ruttman comes in. He was running in the top 10, had fallen back to 9th position, but Ruttman moves the Detterbell car in, the number 75 machine.
Back behind him is Larry Pearson in the Kellogg Cornflakes car. Larry having a good run here today. And you can see them making a chassis adjustment on the right rear of Ruttman's car. They were turning down on that jack screwed in, so that means they were trying to take weight out of it.
Weight out of the car, to loosen the car up just a little bit. The car a little too tight.
There's Larry Pearson. He has his service completed and begins to move back down the racetrack. Remember, these drivers are under a speed limit, not only when they come into the pits, but as they exit also.
65 miles an hour is the speed limit designated for pit road here. Bobby Helen about to enter pit road as Larry Pearson goes out.
There goes Earnhardt by, and Rusty Wallace and others. There's first and second. Now, we talked about the Davey Allison situation and how he's not running very well here today. Jerry Punch can perhaps explain why that is.
I just spoke with the crew a minute ago down in the Haviland pits, Bob, and they tell me the car is so tight that the car just gets bogged down in the corners and they lose so many RPMs they just can't get any momentum to make a good lap here at Daytona. So when they get ready to make their pit stop, they'll be able to loosen the car up a little bit. Meanwhile, Ernie Irvin and some of the other lead cars will make an effort to get on pit road this time. So Ken Schrader and Ernie Irvin, the 1991 Daytona 500 winner. And Schrader has skidded up pit road. Let's go to John Kernan.
Jerry Ken just skidded just a little bit, came in just a little bit hot. He was motioning to his crew. They are only going 2 tires and fuel on the right side. They had wanted to wait just a few more laps, but Ernie, who is also exiting the pit road, wanted to come in now. Jerry?
And indeed, Davey Allison will get a chance to make an adjustment on his car. The car is so very tight. One of the reasons he's not running up to par. They will change only the right side tires on Allison's car. Larry McReynolds, Robert Yates, and the rest of the crew. The car now off the jack, and they push him down and away. So hopefully they have made some sort of adjustment on the car that will make him run a little better in the turn.
So just about everyone that we saw come in got 2 tires.
And what a great pit stop for the Ernie Irvin crew and the Ken Schrader crew, because Jeff Bodine, who took over the lead, inherited the lead. We saw a little bit ago those cars that made a pit stop for a lap. Jeff Bodine coming off turn 2. Those cars are going in turn 3, so they may save being lapped by the leader, Jeff Bodine, in case a caution were to come out.
Derek Cope in for work on his Purolator Chevy. Right side tires going on. Chassis adjustment being made in the right rear of the car.
Doing the same thing there, screwing down on that right rear, which puts weight there, which should make it a little bit looser going into the turns. That was Rick Mast up in front of him. You see Derek Cope going out. Tough tough break for Larry Pearson, Bob. We saw him in the pits there a moment ago. He never did really get up to speed, had to come back in the pits for another pit stop. He's back out on the track, but tough break for Larry.
And Rick Masta had to push his car off, so he lost a lot of time. His car was actually moving before the Dairy Coke car, but they had to push the car.
Remember, they are using the restrictor plates, and getting back up to full speed takes quite a bit of racetrack.
And meanwhile, our leader, Jeff Bodine, has no one to run with.
Here's Earnhardt slicing through the field.
He's still trying to move up through.
Now he can run another. He's up to the 7th place now. He can run another probably 10 laps or so, because he pitted at lap 17. So he can go at least another 10 laps before he'll have to come in. Now there's moving up on Chad Little, who had made a pit stop, changed right side tires. Bobby Hillin also has made a pit stop. Rusty Wallace back there and Michael Walker, they all have made pit stops. Down on the inside coming into the pits was Darrell Walker.
Let's go to John Kernan, who'll call the pit stop by Bill Elliott.
Bill Elliott is in. The crew is going to work on the right side. They have not made a chassis adjustment as yet. We had talked about them being both loose and tight at the same time. Now Ernie Elliott jumps across the wall. Jackson a round of wedge, waiting to get the last bit of fuel in. Finally, it is topped off, and Bill is away.
And other cars come in for service, including Darrell Waltrip, Mark Martin, Harry Gant. Jerry Punch is in Mark Martin's pit.
Well, indeed, Bob, tag team pit stops continue. Mark Martin comes in and pits just in front of Darrell Waltrip, who is pitting just in front of Harry Gant. They change right side tires on Darrell Waltrip. He is out and away. Likewise, Harry Gant is out, but they will change all 4 tires on the car number 6, the focus car of Mark Martin. Here comes the car number 11.
That's our leader, Jeff Bodine, who's made a pit stop. John Kernan is down there.
Once again, we anticipate only a 2-tire change. Junior Johnson cleaning the windshield for the previous race leader, Tim Brewer. Gets the right front on, waiting for that last bit of gasoline to go in. Jeff, 15.1 seconds.
Good pit stop by the Junior Johnson crew, and Jeff Bodine moves the Budweiser Ford back onto the racetrack.
Now yet he hopes that someone will come along he can draft with, because no one is on pit road. He does not have a partner, and that could be doomsday for him if he can't find one soon.
That's a very good point, because remember, Erman and Schrader pitted together so they could come out and draft with each other after the pit stop, but Bodine doesn't have anybody to hook up with.
Well, Bill Elliott's coming up on him as he comes out of the pits, but I think Bill has too much momentum. But also, Bill is going to be brought back in for a stop and go, apparently running too fast on pit road.
There's a 25 and a 4. Now this was the leader just a moment ago. And look, there's Jeff Bodine. They're going by him, and look how much faster they're going. Can he get up to speed and catch on the back of these cars?
Well, Jimmy Spencer now is the lead, fellas, after all of these pit stops, and now the 12 car of Hut Strickland has moved by him, so he has taken the lead.
Hut Strickland is the leader of the race, and Jimmy Spencer is. Here comes, however, Joe Ruttman and Dale Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt is running third, and here's Elliott coming back in for the stop and go.
Well, of course, the Elliott crew is not very happy. Bill comes in, slides to a stop. Now he's away. Talked with Ernie Elliott just moments ago. He said that they said they were going down the road too fast. In fact, Ernie now going to confer with the NASCAR official down here. Apparently, they didn't like the way Bill came in hot and went out again.
Bill Elliott receiving a stop-and-go penalty for going too fast on pit road. Hut Strickland, car number 12, leads this race at the moment, and the number 3 car of Dale Earnhardt running in second spot. We're 58 laps into the 160-lap Pepsi 400.
Richard Petty is running the infamous high line. I mean, those cars are doing some weird things in turn 1 and 2. Oh, man.
Is Ruttman on the lead lap?
lap down to Earnhardt.
Okay. Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, John Kernan, Dr. Jerry Punch back with live coverage of the Pepsi 400 Winston Cup race from Daytona International Speedway. The leader is Dale Earnhardt, as he was able to pass Hut Strickland during our commercial break. And so Dale Earnhardt has taken over the lead of the Pepsi 400. But remember, he is off sequence as far as pit stops are concerned.
They'll have pit stops coming up perhaps in the next, certainly within the next 10 laps. And these will be the two guys then that move back to the head of the class, Bob, once the others who are out of sequence. And there are about 6 or 7 cars that are out of sequence that are running up front now.
Including the number, or still on the sequence, is the 11 car of Jeff Bodine. And he is not letting those two front runners get away too far.
No, excuse me, Ned, but he's hanging on just for the barely by his fingernails. Those cars trying to get away from him, but he's hanging on. I don't really know whether he's going to be able to make it or not.
Boy, they're passing Hut Strickland, aren't they?
Well, they really are. He's slowing down. I don't know if he's coming into the pits. Yes, he is. He is coming into the pits.
John Kernan will report on this pit stop by Hut Strickland. The Ray Festus Buick comes in for a stop. John?
Jimmy Finnegan, the crew waiting 65 miles an hour, the top speed here on pit road. You can see a little bit of that damage in the front nose on the right front that they had to fix early and pull back. But as we've seen, it doesn't seem to have affected the aerodynamics of the race car. Right side tires only, no chassis adjustment expected at this time. Gasoline going in. Guns the engine, 13.4 seconds.
Quick pit stop.
Bobby Allison owned the car. Gaining speed as it goes down pit road, and there is the leader, Earnhardt.
Rusty Wallace coming into, he is a lap down because he has made a pit stop.
Yeah, all three of those cars, the car number 75 with Joe Rutten, Rusty Wallace, and Bobby Hillen in the Mellow Yellow Pontiac are a lap down. But Earnhardt will have a pit stop coming up before too long. And Dale Jarrett was one of those that was out of sequence, and he now is coming into the pits and the Citgo forward. So Earnhardt will be coming in before too long.
Again, when everybody who is off sequence comes in for a pit stop, it is going to be the 4, 25, and 11. And Jeff Bodine has now moved right up on the back bumper of Ken Schrader. So that pit stop and the situation that we talked about him not having anybody to interact with coming out of the pits, well, he's found the first two.
He has found the first two, but something happened to those first two cars. One of them got sideways or something. I wasn't watching, but all of a sudden I looked up and Bodine pulled up on the back bumper. So, you know, everything is not roses in those first two cars either. They're having their problems.
That fourth car there on your screen is number 14, the Copenhagen car. Nope, it's not A.J. Foyt. It's Mike Chase, who will apparently chase the Rookie of the Year honors in A.J.'s car next year in the Winston Cup competition. But the West Coast star taking over the driving chores for A.J. Foyt here this afternoon.
Well, we understand that Dale Earnhardt might be coming in, fellas. He's moving down to the inside of the racetrack. Of course, that's where he normally drives here. But let's see if he is going to come in this time. He perhaps has signaled to Joe Rutten as Rutten moves high, and Earnhardt indeed is making entrance on the pit road.
Dropping low on the racetrack to make his pit stop is Dale Earnhardt, and Dr. Jerry Punch will wait his arrival.
And we would expect to see possibly another chassis adjustment made here, or at least a spoiler adjustment done by Carlo Richard Childers as they wait for Earnhardt here, the Goodrich Coupe, perched on the wall. And now Will Lynn will run around to the right rear of the car. Kirk Shelburne on the right front. Jack beneath the car from David Smith. They clean the windshield. Childers now waiting for that man to come across the wall. 7 men only, and 7 allowed to cross the wall. Now the tire carrier comes back, and Childers will run across, and he will push the spoiler down a little bit. The spoiler having been measured, and they are away. And they will remember during the drivers' meeting, they told the drivers and crews that if you push the spoiler down at all, a NASCAR official will have to come by and measure that spoiler before you can leave pit road. That's exactly what happened. But Childers had told the NASCAR official we're going to push it down. So he was standing right there to put the spoiler gauge on the car. Gentlemen?
Leader is number 30, Michael Walter. Remember, Earnhardt bumped up the spoiler in his earlier pit stop and now has laid it down a little bit more.
Now, Michael pitted on lap 16. Earnhardt had pitted on lap 17, so Michael Waltrip getting a little bit better gas mileage than is the car of Dale Earnhardt, but he'll have a pit stop coming up before long because he has already run 50 laps on this tank of fuel. That's Michael Waltrip, the yellow car, number 30, Pennzoil Pontiac. Derek Cope just went around to get back in the lead lap after he had made his pit stop.
Michael Waltrip has won 2 pole positions in Winston Cup competition, but has never won a Winston Cup race. Back after this.
Trouble, turn 4. What a job. What a job. 90 car Dollar
back. There you go, Wally. Yeah,
Whoa,
or up Pikes Peak.
Did you see that? What a job.
We're not too far away from the halfway point here. Okay.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Just mention it. I knew you heard it somewhere, right? Whoops. Jeff Purvis is looking for his pit and smoking his tires. Live from Daytona International Speedway, the world's center of racing. Live coverage on this Saturday of the Winston Cup Pepsi 400. Our Speed World coverage is being brought to you this afternoon by Goodyear, the unanimous choice of every NASCAR Winston Cup team. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Once again from the Airship Shamu, high above Daytona International Speedway. Got some partly cloudy skies here at this moment. There is a good chance of rain this afternoon, but it rains a lot during the late afternoon in Florida this time of year. But we should be able to get this race in with no problem. Now, the number 30 car of Michael Waltrip made a pit stop, and so that puts Ernie Irvan, car number 4, back in the lead. Ken Schrader is running second, and Jeff Bodine is third.
And right now, Jeff Bodine having some problems in that Budweiser Ford. A little bit ago, he was on the back bumper of the 25. He has now fallen back several car lengths behind those two. And as a matter of fact, cars are coming up and passing Jeff Bodine. So the chassis going away just a little bit.
That makes these 2 cars go away. Bodine drops back, and Irvan and Schrader hook up together. That's a good strategy, them pitting together so that they can come out and still be in the draft of each other.
The question is, what happens when we get to lap 159 and they're still running like this?
Exactly. And who knows what's going to happen as far as the strategy is concerned. I don't know how it's going to play out as pit stops. Maybe now they have to make an extra pit stop. That Schrader could have made it to only 1 pit stop. Now he has to make 2.
Irvan and Schrader running first and second here in the Pepsi 400. Let's go to John Kernan on pit road with an observation.
Well, Benny, the strategy is 1 more pit stop for both Ernie Irvan and for Kenny Schrader. Now, you're talking about Jeff Bodine and the potential problem that he's having. He's having a problem getting around Richard Petty right now. We talked about drafting and how some cars work better with other cars leading the way. Jeff can't seem to get around him, and his car has tightened up on him behind Petty. So the car is being hard to drive and doesn't want to turn in the turns.
Tell that something happened to Jeff's car because he is losing ground to those first 2 cars. So they're going to try to make it. If they went 54 laps and they go another 54, that's going to leave 56 laps that last stop. Can Ernie run 56 laps? John, you might want to check out.
Yeah, that'll be close.
Better work on your arithmetic a little bit, fellas. 54 and 54 is 108. 108 from 160 is 52.
You're right. I'm as bad as you are.
Benny, would you be interested in a calculator? I just happen to have one. And the 8 car of...
he just made a pit stop just a moment ago and is probably getting his speed back up. He's another one, Rick Wilson, that is out of sequence. He made an unscheduled pit stop for a 4-tire change earlier in the race, so now he has made 2 pit stops today as opposed to 1 for those up front.
Yeah, I think he was running slow there, simply getting back up to speed, but he appears to be okay now. Rick Wilson from Bartow, Florida. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who's been watching the drafting up front.
Gentlemen, we're standing by in the Ernie Irvan pits. You talked a minute ago about some of the problem with fuel mileage, and you mentioned that they had gone 54 laps. In actuality, Ernie Irvan only ran 52 laps under the green, and they would hope to go one more stop, which would be 52 more laps. That's 104, but that means you have to go 56 to the conclusion. So it may be awfully close for Ernie Irvan. You heard John Kernan a little bit ago talking about the extra fuel mileage that Kenny Schrader gets, but it's going to be a roll of the dice for Ernie Irvan, but they're accustomed to that. Because remember back in February, they were on the fumes and actually took the checkered flag on the apron of the racetrack because they were sputtering out of gas.
Dan knew it's 56 all the time.
You guys have lost me with all these numbers. I give up.
Well, there's still a lot of cars in the lead lap here today. Of course, the leader is, as you see on the screen, Ernie Irvan. Second place is the car number 25, Ken Schrader. Jeff Ludine is still third. Ricky Rudd in fourth place now. The pole sitter, Sterling Marlin, is fifth. Hut Strickland is sixth. Dale Earnhardt seventh. Alan Kowicki eighth. Jimmy Spencer ninth. Darrell Waltrip up to 10th. And 11th is Bobby Hillen. 12th is Rusty Wallace. 13th, Joe Ruttman. 14th, Mark Martin. 15th, Derek Cope. 16th, Davey Allison. Bill Elliott is 17th. And in 18th is Dale Jarrett. Rick Mast is 19th. And in 20th place is Buddy Baker. Harry Gant in 21st. Michael Waltrip, after his pit stop, is in 22nd. One of the rookie contenders, Bobby Hamilton, is 23rd. Chad Little, 24th. Morgan Shepherd back to 25th now. And Mike Chase in 26th. Wally Dallenbach, who almost lost his car a few laps ago, is 27th. And Larry Pearson, after having to come back into the pits, is in 20th.
And we're only a little more than 4 laps away from the halfway point. So we're getting very close. You still need to enter the Right Guard Halfway Challenge sweepstakes. All you do is dial 1-900-737-1100 if you are called back during today's race, and you can name the driver who was leading at the halfway point and who won the $10,000 in the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. You will win a Pontiac Grand Prix SE. Just a little more than 4 laps to go before the halfway point. And at the moment, the leader of the race is Ernie Irvan, and in second position is Ken Schrader. John Kernan has some thoughts on who might win that 10 grand at the halfway point.
Well, Bob, I really don't want to have a speculation here, but the plan has been for these 2 cars to draft together until they get to lap 75. Then the crew chiefs have agreed to say, hey, you're on your own right there to race for the halfway money. Well, Ernie has radioed in and told Tony Glover that he thinks he can hold Kenny Schrader back. Of course, Kenny hasn't been able to communicate with his pit, so he will have to let his driving on the track do the talking.
Watch that move with Schrader just pull that time. Went up high in turns 1 and 2, trying to get a run. So now he can pull down on the inside of Ernie. Didn't work that time, but he'll keep trying it because, let me tell you, Schrader and Ernie Irvan know all about the money that's paid throughout this race.
And when they come down, they will complete lap number 77. We'll have 3 to go to the halfway point. Irvan holding off the challenge of Schrader at the moment as they come down through the tri-oval once again. Meanwhile, there is action back in the pack as Ernie Irvan, or rather Dale Earnhardt, I should say, has taken a spot away from Sterling Marlin and now sets his sights on the number 5 car, which is running in 4th spot.
There we see Schrader once again running high, trying to get a run down the back straightaway, trying to get on the inside. Jerry Punch, what are they saying down there in the pits?
Well, Tony Glover just told his driver, Ernie Irvan, that hold him off if you can, because $10,000 would be nice, but don't use the race car up because we'd rather win the race than halfway. So he said if you can hold him off, do it, but if he really gets aggressive, let him go. We want to win the race.
$10,000 up for grabs in 2 more laps. Lap 78 is now complete.
Now Schrader might try it once more. Let's see if he goes in low, see if he drifts up high. No, this time he's going to try closing up on the back bumper coming off the second corner and see if this will work for him. If he can get a drive down the back straightaway.
They're approaching 3 slower cars also. I think they're going to have disposed of them by the time they come around next, or at least by the halfway lap. But maybe that could play a role in all this.
Fellas, as we watch this battle for first and second, Chad Little is in for a stop and go. He made an unscheduled pit stop just a moment ago and went out of the pits too fast, so he had to come back in.
All these guys are battling for position. Earnhardt, Rudd, Marlin, and Jimmy Spencer.
It's Earnhardt in 5th, Rudd in 6th, Marlin now back to 7th.
Less than a lap to go for the halfway challenge, and the last lap speed was 186.3 miles an hour.
There's Mickey Gibson. Traffic in front. Might be a player before this is all over with. Let's see. Ernie goes down on the inside. That's Bobby Hamilton, the Country Time Oldsmobile, right in front.
Had a great qualifying run here, Bobby Hamilton did, but about to go a lap down.
Irvin and Schrader right behind him as Bobby Hamilton moves that car up high on the racetrack. Now here they come out of corner number 4 onto the tri-oval. Let's see who wins $10,000. It's up for grabs right here. They come down. Schrader will not make a move. Ernie Irvin is going to win the 10 grand for being the leader at the halfway point. Our leader again at the halfway point is Ernie Irvin. He takes home $10,000 in the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. If you have entered the contest and are called back, you could win a Pontiac Grand Prix SE if you respond, Ernie Irvin.
Tell you what, it looks like Runt Pittman and the engine guys up at Morgan McClure Racing have done their job, Ned. That 4 car is going down straightaway.
Yes, it is. He won the Daytona 500 here, which takes a lot of horsepower. Running good again today.
Irvin leads, Schrader second. Back with more of our live coverage of the Pepsi 400 from Daytona after these messages. Okay.
98 blew by Earnhardt.
'98 3-4.
Man.
All righty.
There's some cars all over this racetrack.
I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh. Stay tuned, folks. This is going to be exciting. And the talent is saying, wait. Yeah. You could say that Saturday Night Thunder actually began at 11 o'clock this morning with our coverage of this race. It continues tonight at 7:30 with Speed Week. We'll have a wrap up on this event. The IHRA Gateway Nationals follows at 8 o'clock, and then we move back to Indianapolis Raceway Park for another edition of Saturday Night Thunder. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, and the Hardee's USAC Midget Series will be on hand tonight for Saturday Night Thunder at IRP. First and second, Ernie Irvan at number 4, Schrader in 25.
Schrader back up high again and down in turns 1 and 2. I thought a moment ago he's trying to get some momentum, but he just might be trying to save his tires. He might be trying to get some air in the radiator. Who knows what he's doing up there.
Ernie Irvan, as we have mentioned, was the winner here in February of the very prestigious and rich Daytona 500. More pressure here after winning that event?
No, not really. You know, that was in February, and that was a long time ago. Now we're in July, halfway through the season, and you know, it's a whole other world right now down there in Daytona. We're in 4th of July, and it's hot and it's slippery, and you know, so whoever won in February, we're not thinking about it, and I know they're not either. Everybody's thinking about how they're going to make their car handle now, and not worried about what happened in February.
Well, Ernie has a lot to brag about for that performance in February, but he really doesn't have anything to squawk about as far as Pepsi 400s are concerned. His best finish in this event came back in 1989. He finished in 23rd position. Today is the first time he has ever led this event.
He was in the big crash last year on the second lap, wasn't he, and eliminated out of the race.
And that was the first time that he probably had been in a car that was capable of leading this race.
There's Dave Marcus in the Big Apple Market Chevrolet being put a lap down by Irvan Schrader. Long-time competitor on the Winston Cup circuit, Dave Marcus.
So second place is Schrader. In third place is Jeff Bodine. And you know how close he was to Schrader about 20 minutes ago, but look how far he is behind Ken now.
He has lost a tremendous amount of ground. Car just not handling. We see him go in the corner, go up on the racetrack, just not handling. That's the Morgan Shepherd automobile coming off turn 2, the Motorcraft Ford.
And there is Jeff following Jeff Purvis in the number 51 car down the backstretch.
Now, they're using radial tires today, and radials are all supposed to be the same size, new, buffed, anything else. But when they changed the right size on this car, Ned, it just seemed like it went away.
Well, you know, one of the first drivers that pitted, I questioned the fact that they just changed right side tires. But since we saw so many cars that were pushing and heard from the pit reports that the cars were pushing, that maybe is the reason they only changed the right side tires, hoping that the left side tire, the left rear in particular, wouldn't hold quite as good and help that pushing problem.
I'll tell you one guy who's moved up pretty well here in the past few minutes.
And there's trouble over in turn 2.
Oh, crash in turn number 2. 2 cars against the wall. Mickey Gibbs and Phil Barkdahl spin down off the banking, and Jeff Bodine goes between them. Morgan Shepherd is going to also be involved. He spins completely around and gets headed in the right direction, so he's going to be okay. But I don't think the same can be said for Phil Barkdahl. There is Chad Little, apparently, who has become involved in this and has some damage there on the left front of the car.
And there's an oil cooler behind that left front fender that he might. I don't see a lot of smoke, so maybe he got lucky and didn't damage it.
Riding with Chad as he limps toward the pits. This is only our second caution of the day. We had a multi-car crash coming off of turn 2 early in the event on lap number 13, and now at least 4 cars involved in a skirmish. And the Western Auto race summary at this point has Ernie Irvan leading and has led 49 of the 80 laps, and make that now 2 caution periods. 12 lead changes, average speed a little over 167 miles an hour. Out of race, Labonte, Sachs, Musgrave, Smith, Speed, and Bodine. Several of those because of that early race crash. And our lap leaders have been Michael Waltrip, Irvan, Earnhardt, Allison, Jeff Bodine, Schrader, Strickland, Marlin, and Spencer. Now our standings in the Western Auto Mechanic of the Year award has Kirk Shelmerdine on top by only 10 over Tony Glover of the Ernie Irvan car. Then Larry McReynolds is third, followed by Waddell Wilson and Andy Petrie.
We have got ourselves a wide open race now with all these pit stops going to take place.
Yeah, there were some drivers that were really wanting a caution flag so they could make some adjustments on those cars. Here's Chad Little came in. Really, the pits were closed when he came in, but I don't think he had any choice but to come in. Mickey Gibbs also was involved in that encounter over there, and he made a pit stop. They're having trouble on the left side of Chad Little's car, I should say. And here's Phil Barkdahl's car. Apparently, he's going to have to come in on the hook.
Yeah, his car is stalled at the bottom of the racetrack. Ken Schrader really needed this pit stop. It comes under caution as he and Ernie Irvan and Jeff Bodine all come down pit road. We go to John Kernan.
I tell you, you are exactly right. The car was very, very loose for Ken. That's why he was not able to challenge for the halfway money. They wanted to change 4 tires. Ernie Irvan, you see on the top of the screen, also getting for service, probably a 4-tire change as well. Ken Schrader on the bottom. Right sides are on, lefts going on. Richard Broom will go around the back. He will pop up the spoiler. Left side on Ernie Irvan's car. Ken Schrader pulls out. Ernie's still in. They added probably a few degrees more spoiler on Kenny Schrader's car. Ernie's still in. Is Kenny going down pit road, but now Ernie is away. Also, Jeff Bodine has come in for 4 tires as well.
And they're going to go out of the pits in the same order that they came in, as a tire has become loose on pit road and rolls out almost to the grass, but is retrieved. That's from the Hut Strickland pit. And everybody comes out of the pit at reduced speed. We are under caution again for our second time.
And Davey Allison is a car with the hood up right in the center of the screen. That's the Davey Allison car with the hood up.
Let's take a look at the crash that occurred in number 2. Watch ahead, the third car ahead of Chad Little.
Car just lost control, or possibly he got bumped. I'm not sure what. That's probably the Barkdahl car, and Chad Little goes along. I guess he hit Barkdahl because they did not make any contact with the outside retaining wall, or that Jeff Purvis went along. Maybe he clipped that car as he went by.
Now we'll listen and watch it real-time replay.
Yeah, that was the Purvis car that clipped him. The first sound we heard was the 19 car hitting the apron as the car slid across the bank where it meets the apron. The nose making contact with the apron. That's the noise we heard.
Okay. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who can update us on the Davey Allison machine.
Well, Bob, Davey Allison just made one of what will be 2 pit stops during this caution flag. The crew now waiting for him to bring the car back down pit road. They had the hood up a minute ago because they thought they may have a spring, one of the coil springs in the front that may have jumped out of the spring bucket. That may be the problem producing the concern over the handling of the car. As Rick Wilson's car comes back down pit road, he's pitting right above Davey Allison, but the concern was they may have a spring that wasn't working exactly right, and the reason Davey's car was so tight and he was unable to get the car to turn. They didn't see any spring problems. They will bring Davey Allison back down pit road for his routine service here under the caution flag.
Davey Allison heads down pit road. We're under caution here at Daytona for the Pepsi 400.
Took the air off spoiler, didn't they? Just pulled up behind it.
Like, yeah. Well, they're still not giving it. They're coming to the line.
Yes. One to go. One to go.
Yes, one to go.
Okay. The light's going to need to hear that. 91 out of 160 laps are completed. Ken Schrader, Ernie Irvan, Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, and Darrell Waltrip are in the first 5. Second 5, Ricky Rudd, then Spencer, Kulwicki, Rusty Wallace, and Bill Elliott. 11 through 15, Hut Strickland, Mark Martin, Derek Coe, Perry Gant, and Dale Jarrett. And then 16 through 20, Joe Ruttman, Michael Waltrip, Rick Mast, Bobby Hillen, and Sterling Marlin, who was the pole sitter of this race. Well, there's a track of another kind located just outside of the racetrack near turn number 1. Those are the facilities for dog racing here in Daytona Beach. There you can see the track that the puppies run on, and as we pan our camera over, there is the much larger facilities that the cars compete on.
So if the fans, if there was a dog race going on,
just turn
sitting
around.
Up top, they just turn around and see the dogs run a little bit, and then the cars on the other side. But they don't have the dog races when the cars are at it, because they use the dog racing parking lot to park the people who come to the car race.
We thank Daytona International Speedway for all of their hospitality. We are allowed to put a camera outside of turn number 1 near the dog track, and we thank the owners and the operators of the dog track also for allowing us to do that.
You know, in that rundown, one thing I was impressed with was Bill Elliott up to 9th spot, and remember he had that penalty, had to make 2 pit stops and all this green flag racing, so that's really good.
We are going back to green for the Pepsi 400 as the pace car enters pit road and the field comes down to receive the green once again. Ken Schrader is the leader. Ernie Irvin running second, then Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt.
Boy, it takes a while to get the speed up with the restrictor plates. Of course, they got, what, about 420 or so horsepower?
420 horsepower with a restrictor plate. These engines probably developed 650, 700 without the restrictor plate.
What do you think, guys? If we have a successful show here today with the aerodynamics, you think they're going to open the plate up for Talladega maybe in a month's time?
I would think they will. I think that they're going to put the spoiler up a little bit to around 40, 45 degrees, and I think they're going to probably go back to maybe a 1-inch restrictor plate, and I think that will help.
Darrell Waltrip there on the bottom of the racetrack. We haven't talked very much about him today, but he's been right there all the way.
His car seems to work better after they have run a while. He had just moved into 4th place before this caution came out, but now the car probably a little bit tight on him, and he's down on the inside, and the train going by on the outside.
Jimmy Spencer, Alan Kulwicki, and others passing him by on the high side of the racetrack. That's Kulwicki and the Hooters Ford, number 7, battling alongside of Darrell.
Definitely the place you don't want to be, hung out to dry, be it inside or outside. Right now, the inside is not the place to be because all the cars going by on the outside. Rusty Wallace on behind, pulls up behind the 7th car, Alan Kulwicki, and that helps him. But now the 98 car moved down in front of Darrell. That's going to help him a little bit. Now, if Rusty will go down with Darrell, oh, he's going to make it 3 abreast. He's not going anywhere.
Right here at the starting line, they're 3 wide with Waltrip in the middle. And
remember that last year on the 2nd lap?
Oh, I don't want to think about it.
I don't think Darrell does either. He backs out.
So he squeezed out of the gas, and see how quickly he went back about 10 car lengths?
Yep.
VW was mighty kind to me in Pokemon Ball.
Yeah, he was.
Weeks ago. I sure appreciate it.
He's very emotional, as we all were, of course, but to have him mention you right off the bat after he had won the race was really, really special.
Dedicating the race to him. His win.
Special guy.
See Harry Gant down on the inside. He's beginning to roll a little bit. Harry was struggling before the caution came out. Looks like they got the Stowe Oldsmobile going well.
That's Mark Martin on the low side of the racetrack alongside of Waltrip now. There's Gant running back with Joe Ruttman. And the 12 car of Hut Strickland as Joe Ruttman is on the left there and Harry Gant is up ahead on the left.
And Richard Petty's going right by, so we'll look to the left a little bit. We'll see the king. No, we don't see him.
There he is.
Hey, looking good here, passing Hut Strickland, who was up front not too long ago.
King Richard is 1 lap down.
Still racing though. Always runs hard.
Never gives up.
He's fair to the others that are around him that are lap down, but I mean that are in the lead lap, but he still runs hard.
There's the drafting line, led by Ken Schrader, with Ernie Irvin second, Jeff Bernard third, and Dale Earnhardt in 4th.
Here's Alan Kulwicki down on the inside in the car number 7. Bill Elliott on the outside, and the car number 98 with Jimmy Spencer up in front of him. That's going to cost them running side by side there, fellas. See how much Jimmy Spencer pulled away there just in a quarter of a lap. With those cars running single file up in front of them, now Kwiatkowski backs off and gets in single file, which was the smart thing to do.
Probably heard you talking about that. That's right. I'm going to follow up from behind there. 97. We're nearing the 100 lap mark here at Daytona. We'll be right back with Ken Schrader leading.
Thank you.
Hey, guys down the pits, I think there's like 68 laps to go when this thing went back to green. There's no way anybody can make it that far, is there?
Okay. Okay.
Spencer go by. Who's that? Buddy Baker?
They're going to hang Earnhardt out to dry here, aren't they? Nope.
How many cars are in the lead lap?
Right here.
Okay.
Back at Daytona, where Ken Schrader continues to lead Ernie Irvan and Jeff Bodine in the Pepsi 400. The 5-car Ricky Rudd, followed by the 3 of Dale Earnhardt and Bill Elliott at number 9.
Earnhardt made just a little bit of a slip down on the inside of the track coming off of turn 2 and cost him 2 positions. Rudd went by, and so did Bill Elliott. Now here's Jimmy Spencer moving up on the outside. Earnhardt hanging down to the inside, but there's a lot of cars. You can see them coming into the picture there with Earnhardt down on the inside of the track. They might just motor by him on the outside, but there are the 3 leaders.
They are putting a lap on the 51 car of
that was a 19 car of Chad Little we saw involved in the crash a little ago.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, who has a comment on these first 3 drivers that are hooked up in a pretty good tight draft. Jerry?
Well, there's a lot of communications among the crews in the car number 11 of Jeff Bodine, Kenny Schrader, and Ernie Irvan. And the reason they're communicating is they want those 3 cars to be content to ride single file. No one pull out and try to pass. Stay there so those 3 cars can pull away. They realize that Ricky Rudd's going to be awfully strong, so is Earnhardt, and of course the 98 car, Jimmy Spencer, running real well. They want to get away from that second pack as much as they can, so just stay in line. Be patient about 10 or 12 laps, and maybe they can settle it up front right now, just among the 3 of them.
But Jerry, the car number 5 of Ricky Rudd and the car number 9 of Bill Elliott have hooked up together once they went around Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt continues to go backwards, but I believe you can see the 2 cars. There's the 5 car and the 9 car of Rudd and Elliott. They are gaining on those front runners. They've done exactly what you said those 3 up front were trying to do.
Now you can see the interval between 3rd and back here 4th and 5th, Rudd and Bill Elliott. By the way, Elliott, of course, has also had some tragedy in his family, as Benny has. He lost his grandmother and his mother in the past 3 weeks, and Bill would like to express his personal feelings to all of you who sent cards and letters, and he would also like to apologize for the personal appearances that he had to cancel during that period.
Also, Ernie and Dan, I saw all of them down there, and they wanted to, along with Bill, tell everyone just how much they appreciate everything.
Well, certainly Mr. George Elliott, their father, has been a big part of their lives and of the race team for a long time, but we haven't seen much of him for the last 1.5 years since Mrs. Elliott got sick, and certainly our condolences go out to him, and hope that we'll see him back around the racetrack before too long.
Schrader has things pretty much in hand at the moment, but not letting him get too far ahead is Ernie Irvan in 2nd place, and Jeff Bodine continues to hang right in there in 3rd position. Now, Rick Mast we had heard was perhaps asking for at least the possibility of some relief help. We understand that he has decided against that, but that's how hot and humid it is today. And there is Ted Musgrave. John, is he standing by to possibly relieve?
Well, being prepared, the old Boy Scouts motto, is the best way to face situations like this. Rick is wearing a cool helmet where air is blown through ice and through a hose into the back of the helmet, blown on the face. Well, he's run out of ice. It's now blowing hot air in on his face, and he is not feeling very well at all. So they have asked Ted Musgrave to stand by just in case Rick wants to come out of the car, but Bob Johnson says he probably wouldn't come out of the car unless they get a caution.
Boy, Jeff Bodine has gone back a few positions, hasn't he?
Down in 1 and 2, these cars all of a sudden just something happens down in 1 and 2, and the other cars go by.
So the shuffle in the standings now has Schrader, Irvin, Ricky Rudd moves up to 3rd, then Elliott, and Jeff Bodine falls back to 5th.
Ernie sees these guys coming and says, well, wait a minute, I don't want to be second. I better see if I can get by Schrader.
Then you mentioned something happening down in turn 1. It's a sharper turn going into turn 1 than it is turn 3. And if there is a little quirk or something in the aerodynamics of the car because of the strips on the rear deck lids of the car, that might be where it's affecting it.
It will certainly show up more down in turns 1 and 2 than it would 3 and 4. You're right, that corner is much sharper than 3 and 4. Here's Irvin trying to take the lead. He's on the inside. Now, who's Rudd going to help?
Now, we'll see who.
Let's see.
That's his teammate up on the outside, Schrader, both Hendrick Motorsports cars, so it looks like he might be going with him.
Good point, Ned. You would think that he would try to. Wait a minute now, Ricky.
He's not sure which one to go with, to tell you the truth.
Irvin, I think, is going to get credit for leading that lap, but now Schrader and Rudd begin to inch ahead of. Well, no, here comes Ernie right back on the bottom side of the racetrack.
But it should, the momentum they got on the outside should pull them down the backstretch ahead of him. Although, as Benny said earlier, that 4 car has a lot of horsepower, and he's going to stay right out there with them, going down with them drafting each other, and him down there by himself. Well, they get a little bit of an edge on him going down the backstretch.
He moved away from the pack of cars down the back straightaway, seeing if that would help him just a little bit, Ned, and it looked like it hurt him instead of helping him.
Now look how far Schrader pulled ahead once they got side by side behind him.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, who has a report on Dale Earnhardt.
It must be a helpless feeling for Dale Earnhardt right now. His car keeps sliding backwards in the field, and that car apparently getting looser and looser. He has complained to the crew that the car must have a tire going down. What they would like to do, as Richard Petty now moves up and tries to make a move around Earnhardt, what the crew would like to do is see if Dale could hold on for just 4 more laps. That'll give them lap 110. They can make it the rest of the way on this final stop. They are hoping and praying with their fingers crossed as Richard Petty now makes the pass on the hapless Earnhardt. And if they can make this one final pit stop and correct that possible tire going down and then go the rest of the way. But a tough day for Dale Earnhardt.
The points leader in Winston Cup competition by 138 over Ricky Rudd, who at the moment is running 2nd in this event. And this is the halfway point of the 1999-91 Winston Cup season. We'll be back with more of our live coverage from Daytona International Speedway.
Did you see Rudd's car go crazy down there, Ned?
I did.
Did you see? Look how far back he is.
He's lost some.
He went in that corner, the car just went crazy.
Yep.
Mike Chase.
Oh, okay.
He's back to the line. They're going to let Rudd lead a lap. They said back off, Schrader.
That's
lead a lap.
unbelievable. That's
those points, huh?
Yep,
5
I think
points.
It's a point. Yeah, it's 5 points. I think, yeah.
ESPN Speed World today at Daytona International Speedway for the NASCAR Pepsi 400 Winston Cup race. 108 laps are completed. Our Speed World coverage is being brought to you by McDonald's. Getting more for your money, that's McDonald's today. And by Budweiser, the king of beers with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud. Under caution for the third time this afternoon. This was for a spin over in turn number 2 involving Mike Chase and the AJ Foyt, number 14. He has climbed out of the car okay, and this is how it happened.
Well, he was running right behind Dale Jarrett, and it looks like he might have tried to move to the inside, and all of a sudden the car got out of control, slams into the outside retaining wall. Here comes Rick Mask, made his quit to go on the inside, and he does get by.
And pit road becomes very, very busy as just about everybody comes in for a pit stop.
And Ernie Irvin missed his pit. Ernie Irvin missed his pits and did not, or he just put some gas in because, I guess they just put some gas in because Rudd's going out. Ooh. This is a great break for Dale Earnhardt. Remember how loose his car was? He's able to put on 4 tires and probably beat the spoiler back up now.
Earnhardt and the Richard Childress crew still working on that car. Now Dale is down off the jacks and begins to move back onto the pit road.
Look at all the track position he's going to lose because these fellas just went in and put on some gas and went back out.
Now, when we had the caution flag come out, something very interesting happened, Ned.
Yes, Ken Schrader moved to the inside of the track. Ricky Rudd was running second. His teammate in Hendrick Motorsports, Rudd, has not led this race today, and I'm sure the crew got on the radio and said, hey, back off, let Ricky come back to the line first. It might be his only opportunity to lead. At least it was an easy opportunity, so they let him get 5 Winston Cup bonus points.
And in 16 Pepsi 400 starts, Ricky Rudd has led only 2 laps, and his best finish was 6th in 1986. He is certainly on his way to perhaps his best finish in a Pepsi 400. We'll take another break and be back with more right after this. Yeah, he stayed out. Oh, I see.
Yeah, they all just put gas in the car. They all just put gas in, but I looked up and I thought he was
so quick.
He was so quick. I said,
Not now, not really. Under caution.
see, they only put in just a little bit of gas. You know, a couple of gallons is all they put in.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much. God bless you. You knew exactly what I wanted to tell you, and I forgot to. Speed Week, that's for you. Mark that. You're going to use it. Okay. Daytona International Speedway, Daytona Beach, Florida. That's the scene of today's Pepsi 400 Winston Cup race, and we are live here on ESPN Speed World. 110 out of 160 laps are in the books. We're under caution for the 3rd time today because of a spin and an incident with the wall by Mike Chase in turn number 2. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who has a report on tire wear.
Well, gentlemen, tire wear basically is non-existent, and I think Goodyear Tire and Rubber engineers have done a tremendous job in developing this radial tire for Daytona. What you see beside me is the radial tire all the teams are using. There's about 30 seconds of rubber when these tires are brand new here. That's the tread that you wear. Now, some of these drivers have run 80 laps in practice, sometimes 85, close to 90 laps in practice. They'll come back in, and these tires still have 30 seconds of tread on them, so they're not wearing much at all. That's why you see these teams feel so comfortable in this last caution flag to take only fuel and not change tires. Tire wear is not a problem. Just want to keep fuel in the car and make it to the checkered flag. Bob?
All right, Jerry, thank you very much. Well, building Last year, a great race here at Daytona. At least we had hoped for a good race. Winston Cup replays are brought to you by Autolite Spark Plugs, guaranteed for 2 years no matter how far you go. The Pepsi 400, July 7th, 1990, Dale Earnhardt took the early advantage from surprise pole sitter Greg Sachs. As the field came down to complete lap 1 of the most destructive crashes in NASCAR history. Over half the field involved. 8 cars were unable to continue. Fortunately, all drivers escaped injury. After a long cleanup delay, the race resumed as Earnhardt again took command. The traditional drafting lines were very much in evidence with the restrictor plates on. Mark Martin, the points leader, took a long slide down the backstretch. He was able to continue and wound up in 11th position, maintaining his points advantage. Bobby Hillin had one of his best races of the year, actually leading 2 laps. In spite of a spin and near disaster on pit road, Hillin went on to finish 6th after starting 28th. Earnhardt scored his 2nd consecutive victory and moved back to 2nd in points, 63 behind Martin. It was his first win at the World Center of Racing. Dale Earnhardt, the defending champion of this event. That had to be one of the biggest disappointments of my racing career last year when those cars wiped out on the first lap, but it turned out to be a good race anyway, and we are about to go back to green for this one. The 1991 edition of the Pepsi 400. The green comes out, and Ricky Rudd is at the top of the field.
And that's Alan Kowicki that has snuck up to the 3rd spot in that Hooters Ford. Had a big week this week, Alan, because one of his sponsors' restaurants right across the street from the Speedway. Had a show car there all week.
I bet he got free meals every time he wanted to go in.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And I'll bet that most members of our crew spent most of their lunch hours there, too.
It's always packed here this week.
Schrader is back to 4th.
In 5th position is the 22 car. The 28 machine of Davey Allison. Now, we talked earlier in the race about how he was having all kinds of handling problems, but it looks as if he has those handling problems corrected because he's up in the top 10. Jerry?
That's exactly right, Bob. In fact, what they finally figured out, we mentioned that they were looking for a possible spring that may have come out of the bucket. Well, what actually happened was the U-bolt or the U-clamp that holds the trailing onto the rear end has a rubber spacer in it. That rubber spacer had gotten compressed, allowing that rear end to move back and forth beneath Davey and let Davey feel very, very unstable in the car. They tightened that up when they jacked the car up in the last pit stop, and now Davey is set to make a run to the front.
He's running in 8th position, battling alongside of Harry Gant, there number 33. Meanwhile, back up front, it becomes a battle for 4th position. Sterling Marlin, our pole sitter, on the inside. Ken Schrader is outside of him. Then right behind is Jimmy Spencer in the 98 car.
Spencer almost pushing that 25 car, that short chute.
There's Rusty Wallace in the middle of that pack. Rusty didn't have a good qualifying run, but he has run well today, stayed up in the lead pack much of the time. When I say lead pack, that could be in the first 15 or so positions.
Now, Marlin certainly isn't out of this race by any stretch of the imagination. And if he were to win this race, he would take home $68,400 in Unocal bonus money for being the pole sitter and the race winner.
Which means it's been a while since the pole sitter won a race this year.
Showing you the drivers that have dropped out of competition. Terry Labonte was the first out.
Here comes Davey Allison. They're 3 abreast coming off the tri-oval. Rusty Wallace on the inside had Sterling Marlin in the sandwich in the middle. Davey makes the pass. Everything, they come out of that unscathed. Makes me nervous, Bob.
More nervous watching him up here than it is down there.
Meanwhile, back to the race for the lead. Here goes Ernie.
Yeah, Irvin is going to take the lead away from Ricky Rudd back down the backstretch. Alan Kowicki is going to go into 2nd position, and I believe that Schrader is going to be 3rd, and the leader, or the guy that was the leader, drops back to 4th. That's right.
We saw that earlier on with Dale Earnhardt when he was leading. He went all the way back to 5th spot.
Boy, Ernie Irvan just looks so strong here today. Can he win both races in 91 at Daytona? We'll answer that question in a few laps.
Here comes Spencer.
All right. Spencer is so good here today. Now Neil.
Yep.
Yep. And look at Allison. He's 4th now. We do have this is the potential here for a crash because everybody does want to get up front here for the last 30-40 laps.
Yeah, it's positioning time now.
Yeah. And they're not too many laps from a caution.
In golf, they call it moving day. They call them positioning day here. Positioning time. DW a while ago passed on the apron coming off the trial oval.
Did he?
Yeah. Just pulled down her apron and went by.
His car started.
Around the world with over 1 million miles of award-winning coverage. ESPN's Speed World today at Daytona International Speedway for the Pepsi 400, and we welcome you on the 118th lap of this 160-lap event. Ernie Irvan is the leader of the race. Ken Schrader running 2nd. Jimmy Spencer has moved to 3rd, and Davey Allison is all the way up to 4th.
They definitely have fixed that problem on Davy's car because his car is extremely strong now.
Those cars back behind them, these 4 have pulled away because the cars back behind them are running side by side, folks.
Look at this scramble.
Man, oh man. Kowicki just a moment ago up in 2nd spot got hustled to the back, and we have got a mess.
2 by 2 out of the 2nd turn and down the backstretch. That's Waltrip and Alan Kowicki leading this.
Oh,
look at
Earnhardt got sideways. Somebody looked like made some contact with
we've got a problem.
Contact here for sure. Darrell Waltrip and Joe Rutten. Waltrip's car gets on his roof and over.
Darrell Waltrip tumbling down the backstretch in what appears to be a very, very serious crash. Joe Ruttman, the other car involved in that incident. Darrell Waltrip.
Come on, DW.
And all we can do now is hold our breath.
It looked like the car was going to slide through the grass there and be okay, but then I don't know if it crossed some pavement or something, it dug in.
Yes, and it caught a road over there, and it just...
And when the car got slightly in the air, then it just went on over. The air got underneath it, and it began to overturn, overturning several times.
There were so many cars running in that pack. Something almost had to happen. Boy, they were just going at it so hard.
That we see Darrell. He's down on the inside of Kowicki, and Joe Ruttman right behind him. Now here comes Earnhardt. Looks like someone had tapped him. But, Kowicki came down and touched Darrell.
Threw him back into Ruttman.
Ruttman gets in the side of him.
And
here's the road they hit.
Yep. When he hits the road, it gets him airborne, and the car starts over. Of course, he was being pushed by the car number 75. That was just a circumstance there.
There was certainly nothing aerodynamic that caused that crash. When they went over that paved road, which is part of the road course, that's when the car got airborne and began to flip. Here's another angle.
We'll see Darrell down on the inside of Alan Kowicki. And there's Earnhardt pulling out, making it about 3 abreast back there. But Kowicki was up a little bit high, and Darrell looked like they just went together as they came off of turn 2 and started
Darrell to the infield, and Rutten took him with him.
Car rolled over 5 or 6 times and came to rest on its side. And the rescue of Darrell Waltrip continues in the backstretch. Dale Earnhardt makes a pit stop. So do several other cars. As we once again look at the rescue of Darrell Waltrip, who, as we said earlier in this race, was hurt here a year ago in practice before the day before the race. It knocked him out of competition for a while, and he's been involved in what appears to be a serious crash here today. We'll be right back.
It looks like the roll bars are intact.
Yeah.
The sheet metal just came loose.
Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, John Kernan, Dr. Jerry Punch back at Daytona International Speedway. Serious crash on the backstretch. Darrell Waltrip is the driver involved. They are attempting to remove him from his battered race car that came to rest on its side at the end of the backstretch. And here is the other car that was involved in the incident. That is Joe Ruttman. He drove it on for quite a way, so Joe is okay, although that car is also very badly damaged in both the front end and the back end of the car. But right now our concerns are for Darrell Waltrip.
It looks like, fellas, that what we can see of it, that the roll bars in Darrell's car has held up okay. We saw a lot of the sheet metal flying around, and we can see the workers peeling that sheet metal from it.
Here it is once again. Darrell is at the front of this pack here on
with
the
orange
inside.
bumper down on the inside there.
I just wonder if the 22 car of Sterling Marlin, if he doesn't bump the 7 car. It looked to me like there was a little bit of contact between those 2 cars, which got Kawicki out of control.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just trying to get as close as they possibly can, because the closer you get, the faster they go. We saw Darrell's car when it hit that road, starts it flipping, and it's so muddy that the car just dug into it's rained so much here, the car dug into the ground, and just you know, we understand that the cars are running 175, 80, 190 miles per hour at that point, and we see a tire that's come off the car.
Looks like about 6.5 times that car rolled over. From another angle, let's watch Sterling Marlin.
Now he's the blue car, second in line on the outside.
So he just runs up behind Kawicki, and it's just
right there. It looked like they might have made a little bit of contact, and it got Kawicki.
Hey, we're getting a signal from NASCAR that DW is okay.
Oh boy, that's great news.
That is just unbelievable news. That is wonderful.
Of course, they will take him to the
infield care center. You're right, Ned. Look at the cage, the compartment the driver sits in, and you can see the roll bars held up well.
The sheet metal was flying off there, but
that's okay.
That's
really what you want it to do, like in IndyCar racing. The more the sheet metal that flies off, and the more of the crash that can be absorbed by the outer skin of the car, the better it is.
Absolutely.
And watch as the car is overturning. Now, see
the sheet metal coming off.
Yeah.
The roll cage still is intact,
but the cage held up. Well, there's DW on the stretcher. He has his hands folded. Last week when Tommy Kendall had that crash at Watkins Glen, the greatest thing that we saw that afternoon was Tommy waved to the crowd as he was being loaded in the ambulance. We don't see anything like that from Darrell, but again, NASCAR has given us the thumbs up from their race control booth, which is located just to the right of us up here in the broadcast booth. So apparently the injuries are not serious to Darrell Waltrip, and there is the car. Jerry Punch, by the way, has moved to the infield care center and will, of course, first of all, assist in any way he can if there's anything he can do as far as his ability as a doctor is concerned, and will be reporting to us. Okay.
I'll be right back, Neil.
Track backed, okay. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm not sure where he's going. Maybe going to the NASCAR.
I think, well, either there or to the NASCAR booth.
Yeah, he could be going to the NASCAR booth.
Probably to the bathroom.
No, he was going to the NASCAR booth. He's going to miss it. It's the yellow light is off. We're going back to green here. Okay. From Airship Shamu, an overhead view of Darrell Waltrip's car that is on the flatbed truck headed back to the garage area. Darrell's car, there it is once again. Darrell's car badly mangled. Word is from NASCAR that Darrell is not seriously injured. Well, we remember what happened last year here at Daytona, and the problems with, or at least what the drivers say are problems associated with restrictor plate racing. You can actually build an engine differently for this kind of racing. And of course, as we mentioned, NASCAR wants very much to give these drivers more horsepower, and that's why this aerodynamic package is being tested here this weekend.
Probably the most expensive thing on the race car is underneath the carburetor, because some of those intake manifolds, teams tell me they have $200,000 in one intake trying to find the horsepower to get by the restrictor.
We are back to green as we give you a field summary here. Watch for your favorite driver and see where he's running. Ernie Irvan, as you can see, is out in the lead. That's Schrader in second, Jimmy Spencer in third, and Davey Allison has moved into fourth position with Alan Kulwicki. Take a look at the rest of the field summary as we watch the action on the racetrack.
And we don't see Ricky Rudd's name there yet, Bob, in the top 15. He was running up front before this, but there we see him in 18th position. He made a pit stop. So did Michael Waltrip and Dale Jarrett, some of those that are back there. So they want to assure themselves, I guess, of having enough fuel to go the rest of the way.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, who has an update on Darrell Waltrip.
Well, gentlemen, it's the kind of reports, as I catch my breath, that I like to give on ESPN. Darrell Waltrip took a violent crash, and they're loading the car behind me back inside the Western Auto trucks here. I talked to the paramedics, Bob Bachman, who and his excellent staff that work here at Daytona Speedway. They said Darrell was awake and alert and talking to him when he climbed out of the car. They have taken him to Halifax Hospital. It's a regional medical center just off of turn 4 here as a precaution. Probably do some x-rays and check him out, do a neurologic examination. But Darrell Waltrip should be okay, and that's great news, guys.
Boy, it sure is. Waltrip, boy, that was a scary looking crash, but he apparently is going to be okay. Davey Allison has moved to third position, and the guy who has won the last 3 out of 5 Winston Cup races is in another position to win another one.
Well, I tell you, this is amazing. We saw him struggling, was really in danger of going a lap down about 150 miles or so ago, and now he's right up there fighting for the lead. They did some miracle work on that car.
Sure did. He couldn't get out of his own way early in the race, but he is on the money now. Moving to the inside of Schrader, looking for second position is Davey.
Trying to take that spot away. Meanwhile, Kulwicki started to go with Davey. He's now going to lose that spot to Jeff Bodine, if he's not careful, to the 98 car of Jimmy Spencer and the 22 of Sterling Marlin.
Yep.
There's Bill Elliott back there. A bunch of Fords running right together, but unfortunately after about 5th.
Yeah, Allen finally got up into the drafting line, but not before 2 other cars had passed him. Here's a group of cars running behind the leaders. That's the 42 car of Bobby Hillin. Rusty Wallace is alongside Dale Earnhardt. Harry Gant, and 20 Buddy Baker.
Baker having a good run here today. He loves to run this racetrack. He likes the trap and certainly is an expert at it. There's Ricky Rudd now, right behind that pack of cars, trying to make his way back through to pick up as many positions as he can. Remember, he did make a pit stop. Here's Earnhardt pulling out on the inside. Bobby Hillen trying to make a pass. I'm sure he motions to Rusty Wallace. Come on, go with me.
Yep, he makes the pass cleanly, drops in behind Gary Cope. We have seen a lot of passing here today, guys.
Really have, yeah. It's don't know if it is as a result of some of the changes that NASCAR mandated for the cars here. We have seen a lot of passing.
We have seen a tremendous amount of passing. That time, Earnhardt looked on the inside of the Derek Cope car, was not able to make the pass in the short chute between turn 4 and the tri-oval.
There's Ricky Rudd, number 5, Rusty Wallace in 2, and Harry Gant in number 33 as they battle for position.
Here goes Earnhardt now coming off the second corner. He gets a run on Derek Cope and takes that spot away. Bobby Hillen follows him. Baker, Rudd. Derek Cope lost 4 spots before you said don't do it.
About to lose another one. Rudd does try to get on the inside of him there.
Well, it seems only appropriate that a Florida native should win the right guard halfway challenge since we're in the state of Florida. Norman Lillipop of Avon Park, Florida, knew that Ernie Irvan was leading at the halfway park. Ernie won $10,000. Norman Lillipop won a 1991 Pontiac Grand Prix. Watching ESPN, the Pepsi 400, our congratulations as the winner of the right guard halfway challenge. Side-by-side racing here, Gant and Rusty Wallace. Here comes Bobby Hamilton up at number 68.
I believe Bobby is a lap down. Had a tremendous qualifying run here, but his car got awfully loose or something in the early part of the race, and he got a lap down, but it looks like they got it going good now.
Harry Gant and Rusty Wallace, just neither of them can seem to find the advantage that's required to go on by.
Richard Petty in there, he's a lap down. The car number 1, Rick Mask.
Richard Petty is also a lap down, as is Bobby Hamilton. And this 9 car of Bill Elliott goes to the inside and takes the position away from Jimmy Spencer in number 98.
Kowicki just passed him down in turns 1 and 2, and Elliott followed Kowicki by. There comes Sterling Marlin up to try to take the spot away. So Jimmy Spencer losing some of the steam he had just a few laps ago.
Well, guys, it's certainly positioning time now. They need to get themselves in as good a position as they possibly can, since we're getting closer to the end of this race with, what, about 27 laps to go.
And those 2 Fords, Kowicki and Bill Elliott, need to close that gap between the first 4 cars. That's the 4 leaders: Ernie Irvan, Kenny Schrader, Davey Allison, and Jeff Bodine.
With 133 laps to go in the Pepsi 400, we'll take another break and be right back with more of our live coverage. Stay with us.
Michael Walter just about crashed right in front of us. What happened? Scared him to death. And me too. Schrader got a little bit loose. Here goes Davey. Schrader got loose coming off second corner.
Having both of those guys run their respective positions in the All-Star game. I know Ozzie has. Well, tomorrow night, ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball features a couple of All-Stars, Ryne Sandberg and Ozzie Smith, as we'll have live coverage of the Cubs and the Cardinals tomorrow night at 8 o'clock here on ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball. Speaking of All-Stars, here are 4 of them that are nose to tail in the lead draft at Daytona. Ernie Irvan leaves Davey Allison now running second, and here's how Allison and Bodine got around Schrader.
Schrader got the car just a little bit loose coming off the second corner, had to squeeze out of the throttle just a little bit. That's all Davey and Bodine needed. By they went.
So Davey Allison now is second, Bodine third, and Schrader is fourth as Ernie Irvan continues to lead. When was the last time a driver swept both races in the same year here at Daytona, the 500 and the Pepsi 400?
I got a feeling you can tell me.
You know?
No.
Good. It was Bobby Allison back in 1982.
That means I got beat twice that year, right? By Allison.
And there were only 3 others to do it. Leroy Yarborough in 69, Cale in 68, and Fireball Roberts in 1962.
You know, I thought Davey Allison was history, Ned. We talked about just how bad he was. I thought he was, and said so. He was history.
But it's like they have performed a miracle as we see the field go by. See where your favorite driver might be.
It was King, Dale Jarrett, Rick Mast.
A little bit of racetrack.
Dave Marcus.
Dave Marcus, Jeff Purvis, Mickey Gibbs, and Jimmy Means. Now, here is Alan Kowicki picking up the position on Jimmy Spencer, and the 22 car of Marlin will come along.
Well, there's 3 Fords. There's Mark Martin, too, in a Ford. 3 of them get in a row and just motor right on by Jimmy Spencer. Bobby Hillen back there in the back of that pack.
Kowicki moves to 5th position, by the way, Ned.
Pole sitter, the 22 car. In 6th spot. Still to Marlin.
There's Earnhardt down on the inside, taking a couple of positions. That yellow car is Larry Pearson. Larry has run good all day, but he had to make an unscheduled second pit stop, and that really hurt him.
Now we're going back to the leaders. I want you guys to look at this Bill Elliott. Where did he come from?
He moves to 4th, going to the inside and passing Ken Schrader.
Remember just a couple of laps ago?
He wasn't even in sight, was he?
He wasn't even nowhere around the leaders. And I looked up and saw him. I could hardly believe my eyes. So he and Schrader running side by side. And as we said all day, losing some ground to those first 3 cars.
Elliott and Schrader battling side by side. Elliott's last win in Winston Cup competition was September 1990 at Dover. And he was the winner of the Pepsi 400 back in '88.
And finally gets by Schrader. Now he has to go try to catch back up with the top 3. We can see about 10 car lengths between he and Jeff Bodine.
But I bet he catches him.
I wouldn't doubt it a bit. So he ran them down by himself just a few laps ago. Going by Chad Little will help them because he's able to run his line. These fellows had to squeeze out of the throttle just a little bit. See how quick he caught him up?
You better believe it. He's right there. Watching from Chad Little's in-car camera, there is Elliott. He has not only caught Jeff Bodine, but it looks like he's moving to the inside and maybe challenging for the position. And Schrader is also gone by. Yep, there's Bill to the inside, looking to the inside of Jeff Bodine.
Just didn't have quite enough. Now Ernie going high up in turns 1 and 2. That's going to open the door for Davey Allison if he's not careful. Davis
Allison
will
will
look
take a
on
look
the inside.
to the inside. He's got Jeff Bodine behind him. The Fords could hook up to put the Chevy back to third. It could be back to fourth as here comes Elliott. Also, 3 Fords go to the front. It is Allison, then Bodine, then Elliott, and then comes the Chevys of Irvin and Schrader.
As we watch this battle, Joe Ruttman, that made repairs on his car. He was involved in the wreck with Darrell Waltrip. He goes back out on the racetrack.
There goes our leader. Finally, the Fords that Ned talked about at the top of the show. 5 Fords qualified in the top 10, and now first 3 cars in the race is Fords.
Now, all 5 of these cars, fellas, pitted on lap 108. That means they had 52 laps to go. Some of those laps were run under caution during the Darrell Waltrip crash back there, so I expect they should be able to make it.
For those of you just joining us, Darrell Waltrip was involved in a very scary-looking crash, tumbling about 6.5 times down the backstretch. He has been taken to Halifax Medical Center and is not seriously injured. Let's go to John Kernan, who has a comment on Jeff Bodine.
Talk about sheer determination. Jeff Bodine now running second. Earlier in the race, before this last round of pit stop, he had been running as high as third, but they had a problem. The car fell off the jack. He went back out in 14th, but sheer determination in driving to the front. Jeff has put his foot down, is now riding behind Davey Allison, possibly looking to make a move in the final few laps to pick up that win.
And there are Schrader and Irvin running side by side, and now Schrader goes to fourth.
Harry Gant, an unscheduled pit stop in the car number 33.
All right, stops. The crew goes around. They're going to change all 4 tires. Jerry Bunch, what's the problem?
We had heard a little bit ago as Harry began to drop out of the top 4 or 5 that he had a vibration on the car, so they're going to come in and change all 4 tires. Leo Jackson beating the spoiler down a little bit, trying to get the car a little more stable for Harry, beating it up for him to get the car a little more stable. Harry said the car was getting so loose he couldn't drive it, so they had to come in and make a pit stop, and he will lose a lap here under green to pits.
Dale Jarrett hated to see Harry come into the pits. They had hooked up in a draft back there and were coming along pretty good, but now Jarrett's left sitting out there by himself as Harry comes out of the pits, since Jerry said he is a lap down.
Winner of the race at Talladega. Let's take a look at a Big A on-track interval between the leader, Ernie Irvin, and Bill Elliott, and how Elliott was able to close the gap. On lap 136, the interval was 1.1 seconds, but then by lap 40, Elliott had moved into within 0.3 of a second.
And 0.3 of a second is not much.
No, you can hardly see that on the racetrack. Mike Beam has been named our Western Auto Mechanic of the race.
He's the crew chief on the Maxwell House Ford and Sterling Harley. Well, these cars, they ran 3 abreast the last time around. They've singled out a little bit now, but Ricky Rudd was right in the middle of a 3-car deal. And I think he said, let me get out of this. I don't need to be in that situation. I need to stay out here and get all the points I can get. Now he's moving up on Mark Martin. I beg your pardon, that's Morgan Shepherd in car number 15. Morgan is a lap down.
Mike Beam named our Western Auto Mechanic of the race here at Daytona.
See the yellow car back there, the second yellow car, that's Michael Waltrip. He was way back. In fact, he came out of the pits last during that last caution flag, and he has come up through the field making a good run.
Meanwhile, here goes Bill Elliott taking over that second spot, or trying to, from Jeff Bodine, and I believe he's got him. He does, going in turn 3.
Bill Elliott just has an incredible following. He has an unbelievable fan club, and they are on their feet. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who has a comment on Davey Allison.
And Bill Elliott making that pass has to concern the Davey Allison crew, because Davey just radioed to Larry McReynolds and crew that he is very loose up front, particularly when a strong car gets right behind him and gets him loose. And Bill Elliott's not going to stay there very long, as he will try to make the move inside of Davey Allison in turn 1. And they were concerned that possibly he would be a shooting duck out there out front because of the problem with the car getting so loose. And now it's a moot point because Bill Elliott has taken the lead, but the concern in the Allison pit once again, the car very, very loose when he is in front of the lead draft.
And he is pulling away from Allison, and this is the first time that Bill Elliott has led a race since Atlanta in March. 3 cars battling for position here. Alan Kulwicki, Mark Martin, and Hud Strickland.
That's Hud's car we're riding in there as he follows Mark Martin through there. Fellas, we didn't give this Ford to Chevrolet back there when they were running away, did we?
Just about it, I think.
If we did, we made a mistake because the Fords have certainly roared back here today.
Boy, they sure have. There they are.
We see Davy's car going up the hill. That's what I mean. He's getting loose. He goes in the corner. When he has to turn the steering wheel to make the car go around the corner, the back end wants to fly out. He has no choice but go up the bank to catch that back end.
Now, while they've been doing that racing, Ken Schrader is about to catch back up to them in the Chevrolet. They run off and left Ernie Irvin. He is running in 5th place. He was leading not too long ago. But now it wouldn't surprise me to see these 2 cars hook up, maybe and pull away. If Jeff Bodine, he don't want to hook up. He wants to pass. He wants to lead.
Jeff Bodine trying to take the Junior Johnson Ford to the lead, but can't do it. The last time that Junior won a race was at Daytona. And here at Daytona was in 1977 when Cale won the Daytona 500.
Well, they receive Ken Schrader has caught them now. I think that it would be smart if they can do it for Jeff Bodine and Bill Elliott to hook up together with Davey having the problems that he's having there right now handling. They might be able to pull away and sell it among themselves.
Don't go away. We've got a little more than 10 laps to go, and it's anybody's race at the Pepsi 400 in Daytona.
Get it to turn, baby. Get it to turn. Didn't think it's going to turn.
Back at Daytona International Speedway, where Bill Elliott leads Jeff Bodine, Davey Allison, and Ken Schrader. 5th is Ernie Irvin. Then running in the 6th position is Jimmy Spencer, followed by Dale Earnhardt, Sterling Martin, Marlin, Mark Martin, and Michael Waltrip. 9 laps to go.
And look at Bill Elliott running that high groove up in turns 1 and 2. His car not handling like it was just a couple of laps ago. He's moved up the racetrack, but these other cars not able to take advantage and move down to the inside. You know, Ken Schrader might have the best car right now, but I don't think he's going to be able to pass 4 cars in just 8 laps. Do you?
3 cars, he'd have to have an awfully strong car to be able to do that, that's for sure.
Well, what Jeff Bodine and Davey Allison have learned in the first 151 laps of this race, they will now try to capitalize on. Elliott leads, looking for his first win since September of last year.
This time Bill Elliott in the middle of the corner.
He's searching for a good spot to run. Whichever spot he's able to stay out front so far, but he don't know what Jeff Bodine has left, if he has anything back there for him or not. Of course, he passed Jeff a little while ago, so
Jeff Bodine also has not won a race since September of last year at Martinsville.
I told Tim Brewer yesterday it looked like that he and Junior were pretty doggone busy in that 3 or 4 weeks they didn't come to the racetrack, because at Michigan the car was super competitive, and today been one of the top cars all day long.
7 laps to go as they remain in the same order. Elliott, Jeff Bodine, Davey Allison, and Ken Schrader. Once again, there's Elliott going high through the 1st and 2nd corners.
Way high on the racetrack. When he did that a moment ago while he was on commercial, I thought he was going to wreck.
But it worked for him, fellas. He picked up about a car length.
Now look at this.
Trying to break the draft.
Break the draft, going to the inside.
Might have worked. He got another car length there.
Yep.
Now, which way is he going to go here? Is he going to go high or is he going to go low? He's trying to figure it out. He's in the middle of the racetrack.
Seems to work pretty well for him coming off turn 4 and through turns 3 and 4. There he goes down on the inside again. Bodine follows him. Get every little bit of draft that he possibly can. But I'll bet Elliott goes high again here in turn 1.
6 laps to go. 154 completed.
There he goes.
Bodine is right there on the inside, but just cannot build up the momentum to make the pass coming out of the second corner as Elliott maintains the advantage.
But Jeff did pick up a little bit that time down on the inside.
Elliott goes inside again, trying to lose the draft and put another car length between himself and Jeff Bodine.
There's Ernie Elliott. Ernie Elliott. Ernie Irvin's back there in 5th place, riding along by himself behind these 4 cars.
Who appeared at one time to have things in hand, but he's back in 5th position right now.
Once again, Elliott trying to run all over the racetrack, so these fellas do not have any idea which way he's going to go. Trying to keep them from getting the draft. Some draft off that car in front. Once again, Elliott really high up in the corner.
Got good traction that time. It worked for him. He picked up another car length or so, then goes down to the inside, trying to break the draft. He knows they're going to follow him down through there.
They just move right into his tracks and follow him.
But maybe that little bit when he first makes that turn gives him just a little bit of an edge. He's working this thing well, fellas. His car is running well, and Bill Elliott is driving it to the best advantage. It's been a while since we've seen somebody really make those maneuvers all over the racetrack, but Bill Elliott is driving a super smart race right now.
There's 4 cars in front of him, 4 slower cars in front of him, and they're going to catch those cars before the race is over. So I think they're going to come into play before this thing ends.
Bill Elliott is Daytona's all-time leader in earnings with $1,094,000. 3 wins, including 2 500s and 1 Pepsi 400. Can he win his second Pepsi 400 here in the next 2 and a little more laps?
Davey Allison might be getting close to being out of the draft. He's getting some effect from it, but I don't know. He can still pick it up. He did lose a little bit of ground.
Bill's best finish this year prior to today, 2nd at Atlanta.
The cars are going down in turn 1. Those slower cars I talked about, there's 2 of them right in front. Now, is that going to help Jeff Bodine as he comes off this corner on the low side? Maybe he's going to get some draft. Let's see.
That's Purvis in 51.
Didn't help him that time.
Well, I think it did help both of them pull away from Davey Allison a little bit, Benny. So it looks like it'll boil down to a 2-car race. Now Elliott picked up a little bit on Jimmy Means there.
Now he's able to turn down in front of Means, and that'll give him a little bit of advantage on Jeff Bodine as well.
Left Jeff up there running in thick air himself. Now Dave Marcus in front of Bill Elliott. He's got 2 more cars there that he can work off of. So far, Bill Elliott has worked the draft. He has worked the racetrack and his race car to his advantage.
2 laps to go. 5 miles of racing left at Daytona in the Pepsi 400. Elliott and Bodine.
This is an advantage for Bill because he's able to run high where he's been running all the time. Bodine hasn't been up there, so might really work for Bill. Let's see.
And he pulls back to the inside, leaves Jeff out there once again on the outside. Once he got in front of those cars, Bill Elliott has driven a super smart race here, fellas.
And now look, he has a, 10, 15 car length advantage on Jeff Bodine with just a lap and a quarter to go.
Elliott looks like he has things going his way. No one has ever won this race starting from the 10th position, but Bill Elliott may be on his way. He receives the white flag. There's 1 more lap to go. It's been 20 races since Bill Elliott was last in victory lane. That was at Dover in September of last year. He moves, it looks, even further away from Jeff Bodine as he takes the car off the 31 degrees of banking in turn 2 and heads down the flat pack stretch. Bill Elliott goes to the inside, trying to break that draft and trying to leave Jeff Bodine in his wake. He now takes the car again into the banking, 31 degrees in turns number 3 and 4. Bodine lurking about 7 or 8 car lengths behind. Elliott has the car right on the bottom of the racetrack. Here they come into the tri-oval. Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, heads toward the checkered flag, and he gets it. Elliott wins.
Here's a race for the 5th spot, I believe. Michael Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin, Ricky Rudd.
Rudd and Jimmy Spencer are side by side at the line, but Rudd got the advantage. Let's go to John Kernan, who's with Ernie Elliott.
I tell you what, Ernie, the whole crew deserves this. Bill, a great job driving. You had that stop-and-go penalty. You had some problems with handling of the car, but you kept working at it.
Yeah, I think it's really proves the merit of this race team. You know, nobody's giving up, even through all the adversity. I just like to dedicate this to all the people who have sacrificed, so that we can be able to be here today. Mike, Rich, my grandmother, my mom, my mother-in-law, and especially for my dad, who stayed there behind us the whole time, never giving up. All of our families, my wife, kids, everybody's really stuck with us. We've been down and out, but it just proves the merit of this race team.
Ernie Elliott, Bill's brother, crew chief, engine builder.
Bill Elliott wins the Pepsi 400. He pulls the car into victory lane. We'll be back to talk with him right after these messages.
So look at that, Bob. Checking all those spoilers.
Yep.
Parking jam at the Kroger's.
Looks like a Kmart parking lot here.
With no lines.
Bill Elliott has won for the 34th time in his Winston Cup career, tying him with Fireball Roberts at number 14 on the all-time win list. Obviously a very tired Bill Elliott, but look at this. This is where the cars are being stopped so the NASCAR officials can check the rear spoilers.
Checking the angle on the rear spoiler. Remember at Talladega, about on May, the Winston 500. There's Elliott getting out of his car.
And let's go to Jerry Punch in victory lane.
Well, we'll let Bill catch his breath just a moment. We'll slide in here beside him and let him get his face all wiped off. It has been a hot afternoon here, over 120 degrees in the car. And as Bill now gets a big deep breath, my friend, congratulations and a big smile as well. Tremendous run for you today.
Well, with 20 laps to go, I didn't think the Coors Light Melling Ford would ever make it. But I caught a second breath and I was able to get by Jeff, and then I was able to get by Davey. And then my car was just a little bit loose, but if I ran high through 1 and 2 and low through 3 and 4, it was perfect. And Jeff could kind of run at me, but he never did have enough to come on by me. But man, I tell you what, we worked for this one, I guarantee you.
If you'd have had a turn signal in the car, you would have worn it out those last couple laps. You turned left and then right and left and right. Were you just trying to break the draft?
Well, the biggest thing that helped me is we caught them slow cars, and that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, was catching those cars with 3 laps to go. Was able to give me enough momentum to gain a little bit of gap on Jeff there, and then he could never catch it back.
Well, Bill, congratulations.
Boy, it's been a long time coming. I'm happy for Harry and all the guys on the team. They did a heck of a job today. And, everybody said a lot of stuff about this race team, but, this is for my mother and my grandma, and there's no doubt in my mind.
Absolutely a special win for Bill Elliott here. The 33rd annual Pepsi 400 is history, and Bill Elliott becomes the 10th different winner in 1991.
Bill Elliott wins the Pepsi 400 here at Daytona International Speedway. Back with more right after this. Jeff? Okay, now we're going to John with Jeff, right? Okay. Okay. Billboards first. Okay. The top 5 finishers here in the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. Bill Elliott, the winner. Jeff Bodine finishes in second. Davey Allison comes home third, followed by Ken Schrader and Ernie Irvin. Our Speed World coverage being brought to you by Pontiac and your Pontiac dealer. We build excitement. By Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Suzuki. Your Suzuki dealer has the ride you've been waiting for and the financing to get it. John Kernan is standing by with our second place finisher, Jeff Bodine.
Jeff enjoying a nice cool drink right now. I tell you what, Jeff, after that last pit stop where the car fell off the jack and you lost about 10, 11 positions, I'd almost given up on you.
Oh, don't ever give up on me or the Budweiser Ford. Yeah, it put us behind, but we made an adjustment to the chassis, and it really helped. I came up through the pack, missed the wreck. Daryl, I hope you're okay. That was a wild wreck. 4th of July, all the servicemen and women around the world, thank you. We couldn't be here putting the show on if you hadn't protected our country just a little while back, so thanks for that. Glad everyone came home. But it was a good race. I mean, good for me. I haven't run up front on a Speedway in a long time, so I'm just ecstatic. Bill was just a little too fast for the Budweiser Thunderbird. We had it wide open all the way around, but he just had a little bit more, and that's what this game is all about. The guy that has the most and can handle the best can win the race. Good race, Bill, Davey, Sterling, Kenny, everybody. It was a great race except for that one wreck.
There's your second place finisher, Bob, Jeff Bodine.
And it was his best finish of 1991 in second position. Pocono was his best prior to today of 5th. We'll recap the Darrell Waltrip accident when we come back. Okay. Boy, that thing is in a steep climb.
Like a Lear, doesn't it?
Good grief. Huh? Okay. Okay.
Is DW okay? Yeah. Yeah. What'd you throw away, Jing?
Uh-huh.
Well, what are you looking for?
Nothing. Nothing.
He's lost a pilot of the Shamu, I guess.
I'll not allow you to make fun of me here. Okay. Oh, really? Well, we thank the airship Shamu, the goodwill ambassador of SeaWorld, for providing some great aerial shots of this Pepsi 400 here today. The pilot, Alan Judd of Australia, and Steve Adams of Trotwood, Ohio, heads for the airport. Got some rain moving in the next few minutes, so the SeaWorld and the airship Shamu moves away from the racetrack. The most scary part of the race certainly came here when Darrell Waltrip got together with other cars and flipped down the backstretch.
Alan Kawicki and Darrell Waltrip make some contact there. Kawicki gets a little bit sideways, comes down, bumps Waltrip, and Joe Rutman has no place to go. They get alongside through the grass. They pick up speed, going strong now. The asphalt road Makes the car lift, start flipping, and watch Waltrip as he goes over and over.
The sheet metal flies from the car, but fortunately the roll bar cage stayed intact.
And we go to Dr. Jerry Punch, who's with Jeff Hammond.
Well, we told you earlier they had taken Darrell Waltrip to the hospital, to the care center over there at Halifax Hospital for a checkup. Jeff Hammond has just come back from the hospital and is back in the garage area. Jeff, what's the status on DW?
Well, all things considered, Jerry, he's doing exceptionally well. He's complaining about his shoulder, but he is conscious, and he knows all of us, and everything seems to be coming back to him. He got a little rattle-headed because, from what I understand, I haven't seen it yet, but he took a pretty wild ride back over on the backstretch. But he's laying over there right now, and him and Stevie are talking about he hopes he can get out this afternoon so he can get on up on his vacation. So I'd say he's doing really good.
One tough customer, and I know DW, you're probably watching over there. We send our best wishes to you. A wild wreck for Darrell Waltrip, but Jeff Hammond just coming from the hospital. He will be okay.
Darrell Waltrip, good news after that very, very scary looking crash here during the Pepsi 400.
It's hot out there.
I bet it is. Okay.
I understand.
Who's John with?
Okay. All is quiet now here at Daytona International Speedway as Bill Elliott has won the Pepsi 400. The third place finisher, Davey Allison. He's with John Kernan.
Well, Davey's been the hottest driver on the circuit the last probably month and a half. A third place finish, most people would be ecstatic, but you seem a bit subdued.
Well, I tell you what, I'm pretty happy right now, especially with where we were in the halfway point of the race. But before we get into that, there's two things I want to say. I want to say congratulations to Bill Elliott because of all the things he's been through. He deserves this victory today, and it's got to be a great uplift for him. And the other thing is I want to say hi to Darrell. Hope he's feeling good. I know that was a pretty bad wreck over there, and we're thinking about him and hope he gets well quick and hope we can get by there to see him.
Third place finisher, Davey Allison. Bob?
And he continues his great streak of finishes in Winston Cup competition. We'll be back to wrap things up, show you the points, and run down the field for you in just a moment. Okay. Okay. Nope. Our wheel coming back. Okay. 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 All right. Back here at Daytona International Speedway, we will show you the entire field rundown. The top 10, Bill Elliott, Jeff Bodine, Davey Allison, Ken Schrader, and Ernie Irvin. 6 through 10, Michael Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin, Ricky Rudd, and Jimmy Spencer. And as we show you the rest of the finishers, Ned, good race.
Yes, it was a good race. As we said earlier, there was a lot of passing in this race, something we didn't know about with the new rules on the some of the extra metal on the cars, but it was a good race.
To finish what I was starting to talk about, the NASCAR inspectors checking the spoilers at Talladega. Some guy said that Darrell Waltrip got away with a spoiler less than the 30 degrees then. Now it's 35 degrees. The inspectors made sure all the cars were at 35 degrees when the race was over.
Regardless of where they finished.
And you take a look at the remainder of the field. Darrell Waltrip finishes in 32nd position after that very bad crash, but as we have indicated before, he is awake, alert, and we wish him the best and hope he can get out of the hospital even later this afternoon and back on the trail. Now we take a look at the points. Earnhardt continues, of course, to be on the top, and as a matter of fact, he stretches out the advantage over Rudd. The advantage now 146. Ernie Irvin is 214 behind. Ken Schrader is 216 behind. That's a good battle there for third position in the points between Irvin and Schrader, who ran together just about all day. Davey Allison has moved to 5th in the point standings. Now, he was 6th going into this race, but he has moved to 5th. Back to 6th is Waltrip. Then Gant, Mark Martin remains in 8th position. Michael Waltrip and Sterling Marlin, who was the pole sitter here for this event, he will go into the next event in 10th position in the points. Well, we invite you to stay tuned for golf coming up next here on ESPN in just a few moments, and an invitation to watch Speedway tonight and Saturday Night Thunder tonight and tomorrow morning at 7:50 in the morning from Magna Cours. That's the brand new racetrack where the Grand Prix of France will be contested, and we will have the live coverage for you tomorrow morning at 7:50 here on ESPN. Be a couple of more weeks before we rejoin you again for Winston Cup racing. That will be at Pocono International Raceway. My thanks to Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, John Kernan, and Dr. Jerry Punch, and major congratulations to Bill Elliott, who was the winner here today. Thank you for joining us. This is Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone. It'll take me just a couple of seconds here to get this thing written. I'm pretty far along on it, so just hang on, guys. What lap was that crash on? Okay, good.
The week of Pocono.
You're welcome, Jack. We'll talk to you soon.
I'll be on an airplane the Tuesday before Pocono, but I'll be on an airplane the week before Pocono on Tuesday, but I'll be in touch with you. Yeah. So I will not be available, but I'll talk to you.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Good pick.
It has been for me. It's
You did good.
Man, I'm telling you what. Ned, all I could think of was that Tom Usry crash, you know.
Yeah.
Looked about the same way.
Keith, what did you think?
A little hot up on the roof.
How did you go up there?
A little while. You could see it. I couldn't get right next to the roof with the camera. It's hot up there? Not that bad. When the sun's out, it's pretty bad. Not that sunny, really. It's way sure.
I better not do that. My throat's not as open as it needs to be, and I get that peanut in there, and it sticks out in there just once in a while. I ate a couple coming down the road the other day to Atlanta. Martha had a pack. I ate a couple.
I'm just about ready, guys, in Indianapolis. I'm going to give you the script, and then I will do something with the tees. Okay, here we go with the